I should have gone with someone. That's the first rule of camping, right? Never go alone, especially not for your first time. But I wanted to prove something to myself. Prove that I could be independent, self-sufficient, that I didn't need anyone. How stupid. My name was Cove Meridian, 26 years old. I'd grown up in Seattle in a family that thought camping was a hotel without room service. I had never slept under the stars. I had never pitched a tent. I had never built a fire that wasn't on a gas grill. But after a year of therapy working on my anxiety and dependency, my therapist, Dr. Sloan Everhart, suggested something radical. Challenge yourself, she had said. Do something that scares you, something that proves to you that you're capable. So I reserved a campsite in the Cascade Mountains of northern Washington state. Remote area, no amenities, no other campers nearby, just me, nature, and my own resources. I drove 3 hours from Seattle on a Friday in September. The weather was perfect, cool but not cold. The leaves were starting to change color, the kind of day you see in tourist brochures. The campsite was half a mile from the nearest parking lot. I had to walk along a narrow trail with my entire backpack, 60 pounds of gear that I probably didn't need but had packed anyway because I didn't know any better. The site was exactly as it appeared on the website, a small clearing near a stream surrounded by tall pine trees. A stone fire ring marked where generations of campers had built campfires. There was a weather-worn wooden picnic table and a pole where I could hang food to keep it away from bears. Bears. Shit. There were bears here. But the ranger at the station had said encounters were rare. Just make sure you store your food properly, he had warned, and make noise when you walk. Bears generally avoid humans. I spent the afternoon setting up my tent, a threadbare 2-person tent I had bought used on Craigslist. It took 3 tries before it stood up properly. Then I organized my area, sleeping bag inside the tent, flashlight beside it. Food hung from the pole, as intended. As the sun began to set, I made my first real campfire, or tried to. It turned out that making a fire was harder than YouTube had led me to believe. I spent 45 minutes trying to light small twigs before finally giving up and using the fire starter I had brought as a backup. But eventually I succeeded. The flames crackled, sending smoke rising lazily into the increasingly dark sky. I felt proud, as if I had accomplished something real. I cooked a simple meal, canned soup heated over the fire. It wasn't gourmet, but it tasted like victory, like independence. When it got completely dark, I sat by the fire and just existed. No phone. There was no signal here anyway. No people. No noise except the crackling of the fire, the bubbling of the stream, and the occasional nighttime sounds of the forest. It was peaceful, almost too quiet after years of living in the city. Then I heard branches crackling. Not close, maybe 50 feet away. Near the stream. Probably a deer, I thought. Or a raccoon. The woods are full of animals. That's normal. But the sound wasn't like an animal. It was too deliberate, slow, like calculated footsteps, like someone trying not to make noise but not quite succeeding. My heart skipped a beat. Cold sweat soaked my t-shirt under the down jacket I was wearing. "Hello," I called, my voice sounding too loud in the silence. Nothing. Just the crackling fire. Maybe I had imagined it. Maybe it was just my anxiety returning, my brain looking for threats where there were none. I tried to convince myself of that as I added more wood to the fire, make it brighter, bigger, something that would keep the animals away. Then I heard it again. Closer this time. Definitely footsteps. Definitely human. I grabbed my flashlight. My hands were shaking so badly that I almost dropped it. "Is anyone there?" My voice cracked, and then I saw it. A silhouette. Moving among the trees. Tall. Slouching. Approaching the edge of my firelight. "Nice fire," said a voice. Male. Rough. "Care to share?" He emerged from the shadows. And everything in me screamed to run. He was tall, at least 6'3", thin but wiry, long, greasy hair hanging around a gaunt face with an unkempt beard. He was wearing camping clothes, but they were dirty, stained with grime and something darker, something that looked like blood. And in his right hand, he was holding a machete, large, rusty, the blade dripping with something dark that was definitely not water from the stream. This is private property, I managed to say, my brain freezing in panic but trying to function. Reserved, just for me. Ah. He scratched his chin with his free hand. Well, you see, I don't pay much attention to reservations. I go where I want. I take what I need. His eyes, God, his eyes were completely empty, landed on my backpack. And I need supplies. He was dragging something. I hadn't noticed it at first because it was dark behind him. But now that it was in the light of the fire, I could see it. A sack, a big one, made of canvas, the kind you'd use for potatoes or grain. Except this one was stained dark red and dripping, leaving a wet trail in the dirt behind him. What's in the sack? The words came out before I could stop them. He smiled. It was horrible to see. Yellow teeth, some missing. The ones that remained had something dark on them. Trophies, he said simply. For my activities this afternoon. This afternoon. Oh, God. There was a couple, he continued as if he were having a casual conversation about the weather. Backpackers, young, probably your age, camping a mile upriver. Very nice. They invited me to share their fire when I passed by. He sat down at my picnic table without invitation. He put his bag on the ground next to him. He put the machete on the table. The blade left a wet spot on the wood. They shared their dinner with me, he continued. Some backpacker stew. Really good. We chatted. They told me about their trip, their engagement. They were getting married in the spring. He used the past tense. They were. What did you do to them? I could barely breathe. I slit their throats while they slept. So casual, so indifferent. Quick, clean. They probably didn't feel much. The girl, Larkspur, I think she said her name was, woke up for a second. She tried to scream. But when your throat is cut properly, no sound comes out, just gurgling. Nausea hit me in waves. I was going to throw up. The boy, Dashiell, didn't even wake up. One quick blow, done. He looked at the machete with something like affection. This beauty has been with me for 3 years. It never fails me. 3 years. He had been killing people for 3 years. Why? The question came out as a whisper. Why? He repeated as if he had never considered the question. I guess because I can. Because people are stupid. They come to these woods thinking they're safe. Thinking nature is the only danger. They don't think about human predators. He leaned forward. I could smell him now. Sweat, grime, and that sickening metallic smell of fresh blood. This week has been particularly productive, he said. Besides the couple this afternoon, there was an older man 3 days ago, nature photographer, expensive camera, sold it in a nearby town, and before that, 2 women, college friends on a girls' trip. They fought more. I had to use the machete more than I planned. He sighed, as if it were an inconvenience. I made a mess of their tent. 5 people. He had killed 5 people this week. And now, I managed to ask, now what? Now. He stood up, picking up the machete. I take your supplies, and then I decide what to do with you. Terror pinned me to the ground for a second. Every muscle frozen, every thought screaming but my body not responding. He took a step toward my backpack, and that freed me. I ran. I didn't think, I just ran. Away from the fire, toward the trees, toward the darkness. Hey! He roared behind me. Come here! The machete whistled past my head. He had thrown it. It landed on my sleeping bag inside the tent with a tearing sound. I didn't look back. I just ran. The trees swallowed me up. Absolute darkness except for flashes of moonlight filtering through the canopy. Behind me, I heard his footsteps, heavy, steady, and his laughter. That horrible, hoarse laughter. "You can't hide," he shouted. "I know these woods better than you. I've been hunting here for 3 years." I tripped over a root. I fell forward, my hands hitting the damp ground, sharp pain shooting through my wrists. I forced myself to get up, keep moving. Branches whipped my face, tearing my skin. One cut me just below the eye. I felt warm blood running down my cheek. The stream. I could hear the stream to my right. If I followed it downstream, I would eventually reach the parking lot. My car. Safety. But that was 2 miles. 2 miles in total darkness, with a killer chasing me. His footsteps closer. Much closer. I threw myself behind a large tree, pressing myself against the bark, trying to make my breathing quieter, even though my lungs were burning. "Cove," he called. He used my name. How did he know my name? "Cove Meridian. I saw your camping permit. I know who you are. I know your car is a blue Honda parked 2 miles from here. I know you live in Seattle. I know this is your first time camping alone." He had gone through my things. While I was distracted by the fire, he had been looking through my camp. "3 choices," he continued, his voice echoing through the trees. 1. You come out now. I'll kill you quickly, like Larkspur and Dashiell, like the others. No pain, no suffering. 2. You keep running. You make me work for it. And when I catch you, and I will, I'll make you suffer. I'll make you pay for every minute you make me chase you. 3. You wait until I get bored of looking for you, then I go back to your camp. I burn your tent, your supplies. I destroy everything, and you're left here in the woods with nothing. No food, no shelter. The nights drop to 30 degrees. How long would you survive? None of those options. I moved, silently, crawling, away from the tree, toward denser bushes. The branches scratched my skin. I could feel cuts opening up on my arms, my face, my hands. I found a fallen tree, big, hollow on one side. I crawled inside, making myself as small as possible. "There's a 4th option," he shouted. "We could be friends. I could let you live, make you my apprentice, teach you the art of hunting, of survival." The sound of boots splashing in mud. Closer, too close. "Think about it," he continued. 3 years I've been perfecting this. 3 years without being caught. Do you know why? Because I'm careful. I choose victims that no one will miss right away. Lone campers, backpackers, people who told others they'd be off the grid for days. Like me. I had told my friends I'd be out of communication for the weekend. No one would expect to hear from me until Sunday night. If he killed me now, no one would know until then. 2 whole days. "The bodies," he laughed. "Oh, the bodies are the best part. I hang them. Like deer after the hunt. I let them bleed out. Predators do the rest. In a week, there's nothing left but bones. And bones, well, the woods are full of animal bones. No one looks twice. Larkspur and Dashiell. He had hung them. He was bleeding them dry like prey. Where? Near here. Indeed." His voice closer now, maybe 20 feet from my hiding place. "You want to see my work? They're right around here, 100 yards north." I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to know. But now that he'd said it, I couldn't help but imagine it. The 2 young people engaged. Larkspur and Dashiell, hanging from a tree. Their throats cut, slowly bleeding out. Tears ran down my face. Silent, desperately trying not to make a sound. His footsteps stopped, right next to my fallen tree. "I can smell you," he whispered. "Fear, sweat, blood, you smell like prey." I held my breath, every muscle tense. A minute passed, 2, 3. Then he moved, away, his footsteps receding. "Okay," he shouted. "You win this round, but you can't hide forever. Eventually you'll get cold, or hungry, or just exhausted, and I'll be waiting." I waited. 10 minutes, 20. I didn't dare move. Finally, when all I could hear was the silence of the forest, I crawled out. Every movement agony of stiff muscles and burning wounds. The moon was higher now, giving enough light to see shapes, trees, rocks. The glint of the stream. I needed to move. I needed to get to the parking lot, to my car. But first, I needed to know he wasn't following me immediately. I crawled to a high spot, a small ridge that would give me a view of my campsite. The fire was still burning. I could see its orange light through the trees, and standing next to it, stoking the flames, was him, the killer, adding more wood, making the fire bigger, hoping the cold would drive me back. He was right about one thing: the temperature was dropping. I could feel it now, my breath coming out in white clouds, my fingers numb without gloves. But I wasn't going back. No matter how cold it got, I started crawling, following the stream, moving slow, quiet, every sound amplified in the night, leaves crunching under my weight, branches snapping, the gurgling of the water. Could he hear me? Was he listening? I kept moving, inch by inch, foot by foot. Time became strange. No way to tell how much had passed. It could have been minutes. It could have been hours. My body was shaking, from the cold, from shock, from sheer exhaustion. But I couldn't stop, not until I was sure. Then I saw it. A head, barely visible in the moonlight. Trees. Not just any trees. One particular tree, with something hanging from it. No. But I couldn't stop looking. I couldn't stop crawling closer. And there they were. Larkspur and Dashiell, hanging from strong branches, ropes around their ankles, heads pointing down. Their throats slit into horrible smiles, blood still dripping, dark pools on the ground beneath them. Larkspur was young, maybe 24, blonde hair, dressed in expensive hiking clothes. Her eyes, God, her eyes were open, staring at nothing. Dashiell was next to her, dark hair, well-trimmed beard, eyes open too, also empty. I threw up. I couldn't help it. My stomach emptied violently. The sound too loud in the silence, and from a distance I heard their laughter. There you are. Their footsteps, running now, straight toward me. I forced myself to get up, to run. My legs barely worked, heavy, numb. But panic propelled me. The stream. I had to cross the stream, put water between us. I threw myself into the water. It was freezing, cutting through my clothes, stealing my breath. But wade, keep moving. To the other side. He didn't bother to wade. He just jumped, landing on the bank with a heavy splash. You can't escape, he roared. I ran uphill, grabbing rocks, roots, anything to pull me forward. He was coming behind me, faster, gaining ground. My foot slipped. I fell hard, my chin hitting rock, the taste of blood filling my mouth. His hands grabbed my ankle, pulling. I've got you, I kicked, my other foot connecting with something, his face maybe. I heard a crack, a scream. His grip loosened for a split second. It was enough. I pulled myself up, over the crest, and light ahead. Not moonlight, artificial light, flashlights, headlights, voices, multiple voices. Here, I shouted with every last bit of air in my lungs. Help! Someone help! The lights turned toward me, blinding, bright. Miss, are you okay? Rangers. Thank God, Rangers. I ran toward them, staggering, falling, getting up again. Behind me, I heard the killer stop, cursing, and then his footsteps retreating, running away into the woods. Him, I pointed into the darkness. There's a man, a killer. He killed people, 2 bodies hanging from trees, more this week. The Rangers, there were 3 of them, immediately radioed for backup, police, search teams. Are you hurt? One of them, a woman with a badge that said Ranger Sable Kemp, examined me with her flashlight. Cuts, bruises, nothing serious, but we have to find him. He's killed at least 5 people this week. Breathe. You're safe now. Can you show us where the bodies are? I led them. Back upstream, to the horrible tree. They found Larkspur and Dashiell, exactly as I had seen them, and as they examined the scene, they found more. Bones. Scattered over a wide area, human, from previous victims that the predators had scattered. They combed the woods all night, tracking dogs, helicopters with searchlights, dozens of officers. They found the bag he'd been dragging. Inside, parts of Larkspur and Dashiell, their wallets, their IDs, trophies. They found his camps. There were 5 hidden throughout the area, each containing more evidence, more victims' belongings. A journal where he had meticulously recorded his murders. 18 people in 3 years, not 5. 18, but they didn't find him. Not that night. They took me to a hospital. They treated my injuries, mild hypothermia, multiple lacerations, bruises, but alive. The search continued for weeks. Teams of rangers, the FBI, specialized units. Finally, a month later, a hunter found him, dead, frozen. Apparently, he had gotten lost after fleeing, without his supplies, without his camp. He had died of exposure. The machete was found next to his body, still with dried blood on the blade. They identified the 18 victims: Larkspur Vance and Dashiell Cross, the engaged couple, the photographer, Garnet Wolfe, the 2 women, Clover Stone and Zinnia Reed, and 13 more before them, all campers, all alone or in small groups, all reported missing over the course of 3 years. Their families were notified. Some bodies were recovered. Others, just bones scattered by predators, could never be fully reconstructed. The man was identified as Rook Thatcher, 42 years old. He had a record: assault, robbery. He had served time. After his release, he had disappeared, literally, into the woods. But I can't go back. I can't even look at pictures of woods without my breathing quickening. The smell of campfire smoke makes me vomit. The sound of branches cracking makes me freeze in panic. I sold all my camping gear. I canceled plans to go hiking with friends. I moved to an apartment in downtown Seattle, 20th floor, where I can see buildings and concrete in every direction. Because that night, I learned something that no tourist brochure tells you. Forests aren't just home to wild animals. Sometimes they harbor human predators, men like Rook Thatcher, who hunt not for food or sport, but for the simple pleasure of killing. And the worst part, the part that keeps me awake, is thinking about those first few minutes, when I first saw him, when I saw the dripping machete, the bloody sack, the stains on his clothes. If I had run then, if I had trusted my instincts immediately, if I hadn't frozen, trying to be polite, trying to reason with a monster, how much closer I was to ending up like Larkspur and Dashiell, hanging from a tree, bleeding out in the silent forest, where no one would find me until there was nothing left but bleached bones. The plan had been perfect. 4 days by the Rogue River in Oregon, camping in one of those remote spots where you had to walk 3 miles from the nearest parking lot. No cell phone signal, no other campers, just us, nature, and the constant sound of water running over rocks. My name was Marlo Finch, 29 years old. I had planned this trip months ago with my 3 best friends from college, Aster, Clove, and Lyndon. We needed this. We were all burned out from work, exhausted from the city, craving a chance to disconnect. The first 2 days were exactly what we needed. We swam in the cold river. We built campfires. We cooked fish Lyndon had caught. We stayed up late talking about nothing and everything. It was perfect, until the morning of the 3rd day. The sky dawned gray. Heavy clouds hung low over the mountains. The air had that electric weight that heralds a storm. "Shit," said Aster, checking her weather app in the only place you could catch a weak signal, a large rock upstream. "It says something big is coming. Flood warnings for the entire area. They recommend evacuating low-lying areas." "How big?" asked Clove, looking at the river, which already looked faster than yesterday. "Big. Torrential rain. Possible landslides. They're closing the trails tomorrow." Lyndon looked at his watch. "If we leave now, we can get to the car before noon. Hit the road before it gets worse." Everyone looked at me. It was my trip, my decision. "You should go," I said. All three of them had jobs they couldn't miss. Meetings on Monday, responsibilities. I worked freelance, video editing, and had booked the entire week. I'm staying. I'll see how the storm looks. If it gets bad, I'll pack up and leave early tomorrow. Marlo, you shouldn't stay alone, Astor said, especially with bad weather coming. I'll be fine. I have my waterproof tent, enough food, and if it really gets bad, it's only a 3-mile walk. I can handle it. It took 20 minutes of debate, but eventually they agreed. Clove left extra supplies, energy bars, canned soup. Lyndon left his hunting knife. Just in case, he said, though none of us were sure what just in case would be for. I watched them leave around 10 in the morning, their backpacks disappearing down the trail, their voices fading. And then I was alone. The silence was immediate and total. Without human voices, all that remained was the river. Its constant murmur, the water lapping at the banks, the occasional splash of fish jumping. I should have gone with them. That thought came immediately, but I pushed it down. I wasn't a child. I could handle a night alone by the river. I spent the afternoon preparing for the storm. I secured the stakes of my tent. I tied a tarp over it as an extra layer of protection. I moved everything that could get wet inside. I gathered extra firewood and covered it. The sky grew progressively darker, but the rain still hadn't come. Just that weight in the air. That feeling of anticipation. At dusk, I built a small fire. Not too big. I didn't want to waste firewood if the storm really came. I cooked a can of chili. It wasn't gourmet, but it was hot and filling. By the time I finished eating, the sun had set completely. Darkness fell like a blanket. No moon visible behind the clouds. Just the glow of my fire and the flashlight next to my folding chair. Then I heard the music. At first I thought I was imagining it. That it was the wind in the trees or the water over the rocks creating some kind of auditory illusion. But no. It was definitely music. A guitar. Playing slow, melancholy chords. It was coming from the opposite bank of the river. I froze, my fork halfway to my mouth. Was someone else camping here? The rangers had said this spot was ours alone. No other permits had been issued for this section of the river. The music continued. It wasn't exactly good. The guitar was out of tune, the chords occasionally discordant. But there was something hypnotic about it, persistent, unsettling. And then he started singing. The voice was male, rough, singing some kind of folk ballad I didn't recognize. The words floated across the water. In the mist hunt those who never sleep with sharp knives and secrets they keep. Come to the river, hear the call, join the chorus before the fall. My pulse quickened, a knot forming in my stomach. There was something deeply wrong with that song, with the melody, with the words. Hunters in the mist. I slowly got up, leaving my plate on my chair. I grabbed my flashlight. I pointed it toward the river, toward where the music was coming from. At first, I saw nothing, just darkness and the occasional reflection of light on the black water. Then I saw his campfire, small, burning on the opposite bank, maybe 200 feet away, and next to it, barely visible in the orange glow, a figure sitting, a man, holding a guitar, his head bowed over the instrument as he continued to play that discordant melody. He hadn't noticed me, or if he had, he didn't show it. He just kept playing, singing. And then I saw something else, something that made my blood run cold. Next to him, on the ground, glinting in the firelight, an axe, a big one, a woodcutter's axe, the blade reflecting the light. He was sharpening it. Even from this distance, I could see the methodical motion, whetstone against metal, again and again, in time with the music. Scrape, scrape, scrape. My instincts screamed at me to turn off my flashlight, to make myself invisible, not to let him know I was watching him. But it was too late. He stopped playing, his head lifted, and even though I couldn't see his features in the darkness, I knew, absolutely knew, that he was looking directly at me. "Hello," he shouted across the water. His voice carried perfectly in the still air. I thought I was alone here. I didn't respond. Every instinct told me not to respond. It's a good night for camping, he continued, before the storm hits. Did you hear about the storm? Silence from me, my hand clenching the flashlight so tightly that my knuckles hurt. I heard they found some hikers downstream this morning. His tone was casual, conversational. 2 of them, dead. What a tragedy. My stomach twisted. Apparently they drowned. Well, that's what the Rangers think anyway. But between you and me... He paused, as if considering whether to share a secret. Between you and me, I think someone helped them drown. God. Oh, God. He cut their throats first, right here. He pointed to his own neck. He'd let the river wash away the blood. Very clever. Then he weighted them down with rocks. But he didn't do it right. The bodies floated down the river anyway, bloated and mute. He was describing murder. No. Not describing, confessing. They're probably still there, floating, drifting. No one has picked them up yet. You could see them if you walked downstream. The woman, Azalea I think her name was, she was wearing a bright red life jacket. Very easy to see. And the man, Thatcher, he was wearing a blue baseball cap. He still had it on when I let him go. Azalea, Thatcher. He had given them names. He knew them. You know what's best. His voice changed. Darker, more intimate. They came to me. I didn't go to them. They heard my music, my beautiful song, and they crossed the river to say hello, to be friendly, to make friends. He started playing again, the same melody. But now that I knew what it meant, it sounded completely different. Not hypnotic. Terrifying. Come to the river, hear the call, join the chorus before the fall. The hunters wait with wide smiles. Don't take the bait, don't cross the tide. The hook. The song was the hook. It was bait. I turned off my flashlight. Immediate and complete darkness. My campfire. Shit. My campfire was still burning. He could see me. He knew where I was. I crouched down and started kicking it, scattering the embers, extinguishing it. Hey, his voice louder now. Don't turn off your light. I like to see who I'm singing to. I kicked more dirt on the fire. The flames died, smoke rising in the darkness. That's rude. He sounded genuinely offended. Very rude. After I sang so beautifully for you. I crawled toward my tent, my hands groping for the entrance. The zipper. Where was the damn zipper? 5 people, he shouted. 5 people have heard my song. Azalea and Thatcher were the last. Before them was a man alone, Cypress. And before him, a couple, Meadow and Sterling. They all came when I called. They were all friendly, until they weren't. I found the zipper. I opened it. I climbed inside. I closed it behind me. Darkness inside the tent. Safer than outside, but not really safe at all. Thin canvas between me and a confessed murderer. I'll make you an offer. His voice still carried perfectly across the river. If you come here, if you cross over to my side, I'll let you choose. The axe or the river. The axe is faster, but the river is beautiful, peaceful, like falling asleep. My heart was pounding so hard I thought he could hear it from over there. Oh, he continued, I can go. I can cross over to your side. The river isn't that deep here. Only chest deep, a little cold but manageable. No. What do you say, friend? Which do you prefer? Friend. He had called me friend, as if this were a normal conversation, as if he were offering coffee, not methods of murder. I heard splashing, water being disturbed. He was entering the river. He was crossing. My mind was racing. Options. I needed options. Run. But where? The trail back to the parking lot was 3 miles, in total darkness, over rough terrain. He probably knew these woods better than I did. Hide, but where? The store was no hiding place. It was a marker glowing, I'm here. Fight. With what? I had Lyndon's knife, but he had an axe. and probably experience using weapons. The splashing grew louder, closer, and then he started singing again. Not shouting now, almost whispering. But his voice carried over the water. Join the chorus. Don't take the bait. The hunters come with the fog. Your screams will drown in the water. No one will hear. No one will know. He was in the middle of the river now. I could hear his breathing, heavy, laborious, the water reaching his chest as he had said. My hand found Lyndon's knife. I grabbed it. Not much against an axe, but something. The splashing stopped. He had reached my bank. I know you're there, he said, his voice different now, direct, without the false cheer. I can smell your campfire. See where your tent is? There's no point in hiding. Silence. Just my rapid breathing, trying to make it quieter, failing. My other victims, let's call them what they were more cooperative. Azalea even smiled when I approached her. She thought I was friendly. That I just wanted to chat. She didn't even see the knife until it was at her throat. Knife. He had a knife too. Of course he did. Thatcher tried to fight back. He pushed Azalea behind him. Very chivalrous, but it didn't matter. The knife doesn't discriminate. I could hear him moving now, wet footsteps on the shore, getting closer. Cypress, the loner, he ran, like a deer. But you can't outrun a song. You can't outrun someone who knows every tree, every rock, every hiding place within 5 miles. Closer. Footsteps right outside my tent now. Meadow and Sterling, the couple, they begged. They offered money, equipment, anything. But I don't want things. I want company, participation, an audience for my music. An audience. We were his audience, and the price of admission was death. You know what? His voice right outside the canvas now. I think I'm going to update my song, add a verse about a lone camper who thought he could hide in a thin tent, about how canvas doesn't stop steel. The sound, schlick, metal against something, testing the edge of the blade. Ready? He asked. Ready for the final verse? The axe cut through the tarp, like paper. A long, torn line appearing in the wall of the tent, moonlight seeping in. I screamed. I couldn't help it. Another cut. Bigger. The tent collapsing. I crawled out the opposite side, my hands finding the canvas, tearing it, pushing out. Behind me, he laughed. Yes, run. It makes it more interesting. I ran. Across the camp, toward the river, upstream, my feet hitting uneven ground, tripping over roots, rocks. Behind me, his footsteps. And worse, his voice, singing. Always singing. The hunter follows, the hunted flees, but we all know how the game ends. In the river or on the land, the end comes when he takes your hand. The river was on my right, black water rushing fast. If I jumped, if I tried to cross, would it drag me under? Would I drown? But if I stayed on this bank, he would catch me. He was gaining ground. I could hear him. Closer with every second. Ahead, something. A structure. Barely visible in the moonlight that occasionally broke through the clouds. A bridge. An old suspension bridge. The kind they use to cross rivers when there are no other options. I ran toward it. The wooden planks beneath my feet suddenly gave way. The bridge swayed under my weight. "The bridge!" he shouted behind me. "Ooh, good choice. I like the suspense. Will you cross, or will you stay? Or, wait for this. Will I push you?" The ropes of the bridge were old, frayed. Some of the planks were missing entirely. Black holes where I could see the water rushing below, but I had no choice. I kept moving. Step by step, the bridge swaying violently. I reached the middle. I looked back. He was standing at the edge, a silhouette against the gray sky, the axe hanging from one hand, the other holding something, his guitar. No, his knife. "Last chance," he shouted. "Come back. Do it quickly. Do it willingly, or I'll make it slow. I'll make it hurt." I kept moving, toward the other side. 10 feet more. 5. He stepped onto the bridge behind me. The ropes groaned. The whole bridge sagged under his added weight. "This is fun," he laughed. "Like a dance. You go forward, I follow, over and over." I reached the other side. Solid ground beneath my feet, and then I saw the solution. The posts that held the bridge strings on this side. They were old, rotten at the base. I had Lyndon's knife. I didn't have time. He was halfway across the bridge now. I kicked the post. Once. Twice. It broke. Splinters flew. "What are you doing?" His voice changed. Panic crept in for the first time. I kicked the second post. It gave way too. The rope slackened. The bridge sank. "No," he shouted, and then it all collapsed. The ropes came loose from the posts. The planks fell. Everything, bridge, ropes, man, fell into the black water below. The splash was massive. And then, silence. I crawled to the edge, looking down. The river was running fast, too fast. I saw a plank, pieces of rope, and a hand, clutching a rock, trying to hold on against the current. "Help!" His voice different now, scared, human. "Please." I should have helped. It was the right thing to do, human, moral. But I thought of Azalea and Thatcher, of Cypress, of Meadow and Sterling, 5 people who trusted a friendly stranger with a guitar. I didn't go down. I watched as his grip slipped, again and again, until finally he let go. The current took him, dragging him downstream, his head visible for a moment, then another, then gone, swallowed by the same river where he had drowned his victims. I stood there, shaking, for an hour, 2, until the sky began to lighten with dawn. The rain never came. The storm had veered off during the night, passing our area by. I walked back to my camp, or what was left of it, the tent torn apart, gear scattered. I packed what I could, left the rest. I walked the 3 miles back to the parking lot. I found a ranger at the station. "You need to report something," I said, my voice flat, dead. I told him everything. The music, the man, the confession, the bridge. They dredged the river for days. They found the man, later identified as Lowell Crane, 48 years old, wanted in 3 states for murder. They found his guitar, his axe, his knife. They found the bodies, too. Azalea Bright and Thatcher Moss, drowned, as he had said, with wounds to their throats, weighed down with rocks that had failed to keep them under. They found Cypress Ridge, a backpacker reported missing 2 weeks earlier, also drowned, also with his throat cut. And they found Meadow Vale and Sterling Brooks, a couple from Portland who had been hiking a month ago. Same cause of death, 5 victims. 5 people who had heard his song and thought they were meeting a friendly musician. They never found their campsite. The rangers thought maybe he was nomadic, moving up and down the river, hunting. But it didn't matter. He wasn't hunting anyone anymore. I sold all my camping gear, like the story before, like everyone who survives trauma. But the worst part, the part that keeps me awake, isn't the visual memories. It's not seeing the axe cutting through my tent or the bridge collapsing. It's auditory. Because sometimes, late at night, I hear that melody, that out-of-tune guitar playing those discordant chords, that raspy voice singing about hunters in the fog. It's not real. I know it's not real. It's PTSD, my brain replaying the trauma. But knowing that doesn't make it stop. It doesn't make it any less terrifying when I wake up at 3 in the morning, sweating, with that song ringing in my ears. Come to the river, hear the call, join the chorus before the fall. And sometimes I wonder if there are others like Lowell Crane, others using music or art or whatever to lure victims, to make people let their guard down, to make them trust, because that's the darkest lesson. Not that nature is dangerous, everyone knows that. But that humans can turn even the most beautiful things, music, friendship, hospitality, into weapons. And the river still flows in the Cascades. It still murmurs over the rocks. And sometimes, so the rangers tell me, sometimes you can hear echoes, ghosts of sounds. An out-of-tune guitar playing in the distance, and it's not real, they say. It's just the water, just the wind in the trees. But I know better, because I was there, because I heard the real song, because I saw what happened to those who got too close to the river musician. And now, every time I hear a guitar, every time someone starts singing a folk ballad, my pulse quickens, my hands sweat, and that melody comes back. It always comes back, the hook still dangling, waiting for the next one to bite. I found the map in a thrift store in Bend, Oregon. It was tucked between old cookbooks and yellowed magazines from the 1980s. A real topographic map from the U.S. Geological Survey showing the Ochoco Mountains, an area I had always wanted to explore. $3. That's all it cost. A bargain for a map covering over 100 square miles of remote terrain. My name was Soren Blackwell, 31 years old. I worked as an architect in Portland, but the weekends were mine, and I spent them the same way, alone, on the trails, far from people and civilization. It was my therapy, my escape. This trip was going to be special. 3 days following abandoned trails that no longer appeared on modern maps. Trails from the 1970s that had been replaced by more accessible routes. I liked forgotten places, where your boots were probably the first to touch that ground in decades. I left on a Friday in October at noon. The forecast was perfect, cool, but dry weather, clear skies. I drove 2 hours to the Ochocos, parked on a dirt road that didn't even have a name on Google Maps, and started walking. The map was perfect, detailed, showing terrain features that modern maps had simplified, every rocky outcrop, every small stream, every minor elevation. I had studied it for days before the trip. I'd planned my route carefully. Day 1 to a small alpine lake, Day 2 to an old mountain pass, Day 3 back to the car. The trails were exactly as I expected. Barely visible, covered with fallen leaves. The crunch under my boots the only sound, except for the occasional calls of birds. I reached the lake just before sunset. Perfect. A small body of water surrounded by pine trees, its surface like glass reflecting the mountains. There were no signs of other campers, no old campfires, nothing but untouched nature. I pitched my tent in a clearing 20 meters from the water. I made a small campfire. I cooked a simple dinner of ramen and instant coffee. As the sky darkened, I unfolded the map again under the light of my headlamp, checking my route for tomorrow. And then I saw it. Something I hadn't noticed before. Marks. In red ink. Small. Easy to miss in daylight, or when you were focused on the main topographical features. But under the concentrated light of my headlamp, they were unmistakable. Red crosses. Dozens of them. Scattered across the map, each with small coordinates written next to it. And next to the coordinates, initials. I brought the map closer. My heart starting to beat a little faster, though I didn't know exactly why. The closest cross was only 2 miles from where I was now camping. The coordinates, 44-3172, 120, 4283. The initials CV, another cross 5 miles to the north. Coordinates, 44-2891, 120, 2156. Initials, TM, another, and another, and another. 16 crosses in total, each with precise coordinates, each with 2 initials. A chill ran up my spine. Sweat beaded on my forehead despite the cold of the night. What did these marks mean? Geocaching, perhaps. Favorite camping spots. But then why crosses? Why not circles or stars? And those initials? I took out my phone. No signal, of course. But I had photos saved. News clippings I had downloaded before the trip about the area. Articles about trails, wildlife, history, and one about disappearances. I opened it. I read, 4 hikers reported missing in the Ochoco area in the last 18 months. The search continues. My hands started to shake. I scrolled down to the text of the article. Those missing include Callisto Vale, 28, reported missing in April last year. CV Callisto Vale, Tamsin Moss, 31, missing in July. TM Tamsin Moss. Oh God, no. I checked another cross, the initials, RH. I searched the article. Rowan Hart, 25, missing in September. This was not a map of camp locations. It was a map of graves. The phone almost fell out of my hands. My breathing quickened, the air suddenly too thin. Someone had marked this map. Someone who knew exactly where those bodies were, because he or she had put them there. And I had their map, a snap, sharp, close, too close, a branch snapping. Not the kind of sound a small animal makes, the kind someone big makes. I froze, every muscle tense, my headlamp still on, illuminating the map in my hands. Another sound, footsteps, deliberate, getting closer. I turned off the flashlight. Immediate darkness, only the glow of the dying campfire. There's no point in hiding, said a voice, male, calm, almost friendly. I can see your fire from a mile away. He emerged from the trees, a silhouette against the starry sky, tall, built like someone who spends a lot of time outdoors. He was wearing hiking clothes, cargo pants, technical jacket, hiking boots. In one hand, he held a compass. In the other, a hunting knife, large, the blade glinting in the firelight. Nice place to camp, he said, approaching. I've camped here too, several times. In fact, he pointed with the compass toward the lake. Right there, 18 months ago, with a girl named Callisto. Did you know Callisto? I didn't answer. I couldn't. My voice was gone. No, of course not. No one knew Callisto except me. Well, he corrected himself. No one after April last year anyway. He sat down on a log near my campfire, as if we were old friends sharing a campsite, the knife resting casually in his lap. You have something that's mine, he said. It wasn't a question. My hand was still clutching the map, rolled up now, clenched in my fist. That map, he continued, I lost it. 3 months ago, in Bend. I was in a coffee shop and left it on the table when I went to the bathroom. When I came back, gone. I thought someone had thrown it away, but no. His eyes, I couldn't even see their color in the darkness, but I could feel them, fixed on me. You found it. I bought it, I managed to say. At a thrift store. I didn't know. You didn't know it was a hunting journal. He nodded. Of course you didn't. Why would you? It's just an old map. Except for the marks. Did you see them? The red crosses. I don't know what you're talking about. Liar. The word came out like a hiss. I saw you looking at them. Your light shining on each one, counting them, reading them. He stood up, took a step closer. 16 crosses. 16 locations, 4 of them are from this season. The article only mentions 4 missing, right? Callisto, Tamsin, Rowan, and who is the 4th? Oh yes, Birch Kemp, BK. He had seen those initials too. But there are 12 more, he continued. 12 that no one has found yet. 12 that aren't even reported missing, because I chose carefully. Solo hikers, people without firm plans, no itineraries, no one waiting for them on specific dates. Like me, I'd come alone. I'd told my roommate I would be away for a few days. Nothing more specific. It's a perfect system, he said, almost proudly. I mark their routes on the map. That way I don't overlap. I don't bury 2 bodies too close together. The wilderness is big, but not infinite. You need to space things out. Why? The question came out before I could stop it. Why do this? Why? He considered the question. Because I can. Because it's exciting. Because every time I see someone on the trails, alone, vulnerable, trusting, something in me says, that could be the next one. He smiled. I could see the glint of teeth. And I'm usually right. He took another step. Now he was only 10 feet away. That map is my record, my achievement. 3 years of careful work. I can't let you have it." "You can have it," I said, holding out the map. "Take it. I won't tell anyone. I promise." "I can't trust that." His voice was almost sad. "Because you've already seen it. You've already made the connections. And you're young. Young means good memory. Memory means evidence." The knife rose, reflection of stars on steel. "But I can make this easy," he said. "Quick, like Callisto. She didn't even have time to scream. A quick cut here." He pointed to his own throat. The carotid, unconscious in seconds, dead in less than 2 minutes. "Or," he continued, "you can run, make it interesting, but then you'll be like Tamsin. She ran. It lasted almost an hour. But eventually everyone gets tired, everyone stumbles, and when they do," he made a stabbing gesture, "it's not so clean." Horror paralyzed me, just for a second, but it was enough. He lunged, the knife raised, coming straight for my chest. I raised my backpack. It was right beside me, instinctively. The knife sliced through it, the blade grazing my jacket, but not my skin. "Shit," he roared, pulling the knife back. I ran, not toward the trail I had planned for tomorrow. That one would go deeper into the wilderness, toward the trail I had come on, toward civilization. Behind me, I heard him cursing, heavy footsteps following. The darkness was absolute. No moon tonight, only stars that gave just enough light to see shapes. Trees, rocks. The trail like a ribbon, barely lighter than the surrounding woods. I tripped over a root, almost fell. Grabbed onto a tree, rough bark tearing my palm. "You can't outrun this," he yelled behind me. "I know these trails better than you. I've been hunting here for 3 years." Stones rolled under my feet, the trail sloping down now, steep, dangerous in the dark. My headlamp, it was in my pocket. Should I turn it on? It would make me visible, but it would also let him see me. I took the gamble. I turned it on, bright light illuminating the trail ahead. Loose rocks, roots, a sharp turn coming up. Behind me, his breathing, panting, but steady, gaining ground. "You're 17, he shouted. 16 on the map, and you're number 17. 1 more dozen, and I'll reach 30. That's my goal." 30. He planned to kill 30 people. The trail leveled off. Running easier now, but he was running faster too. I could hear him right behind me. 10 feet. 5. His hand brushed my backpack. Grabbing, pulling, I twisted. The backpack slipped off my shoulders. He grabbed it. I broke free, but I lost precious seconds. He was on top of me now, the knife coming down toward my back. I lunged to the left, off the trail, toward the trees. "Bad move," he laughed. "No trail means no direction. You'll be lost in minutes." He was right. I no longer knew where I was. Everything looked the same. Trees, brush, darkness. But somewhere ahead there was a road, the dirt road where I had parked. If I could find it, a slope, steep. I started to slip, clawing with my hands. Roots, rocks, anything. He was coming behind me, also slipping, also grabbing. I reached the bottom. A small stream, ice-cold water up to my ankles. My flashlight caught something. Reflection, metal, a sign, old, rusty, but legible. Ranger station, 2 miles. 2 miles. I could do 2 miles. I followed the stream, downstream. My feet soaked, numb, but moving. "I see your light," his voice echoing in the ravine. "You can't hide from me." I turned off the flashlight, moving by memory now, following the sound of the water. I stumbled, fell, cold water soaking me completely. I got up, shivering, from the cold and the fear. Ahead, more light, not stars, artificial light. The ranger station. It had to be. I started running again, my lungs burning, legs barely responding. The light brighter, closer. A building, small, with lit windows. "Help!" I shouted. "Help! There's a man, a killer!" The door opened. A ranger, female, maybe 40, full uniform, came out with a bright flashlight. "What? Who are you?" "A man is chasing me. He has a knife. He killed people. 16 people. He has a map marking where the bodies are. She grabbed her radio immediately. I need backup at the East Ochoko station. Possible assailant in the area. A click. Behind me. Close. He had come out of the trees, standing 30 feet away, still holding the knife. There, I pointed. It's him. The ranger shone her flashlight at him. Sir, drop the weapon. Now. He didn't move. Just stared at us. At her. At me. Back at her. You have no evidence, he finally said. It's his word against mine. Some crazy hiker claiming I'm a murderer. No proof. I have the map, I said. Your map with all the crosses, all the locations. His expression changed. Real panic there, for the first time. It's in your backpack, I continued. The backpack you left behind when I ran. Still at my camp. Sir, I need you to drop the weapon. The ranger had her own weapon now, pointed. He looked at the knife in his hand, then at her, then back to the forest, and he ran. Not toward me, not toward the ranger, toward the darkness, toward the wilderness he knew so well. Stop, the ranger fired, a warning shot into the air, but he was already gone, swallowed by the trees. More rangers arrived within minutes, search teams mobilized, helicopters with infrared lights. They took me inside, gave me blankets, hot coffee, treated my mild hypothermia. A detective, a man named Granite Wolf, took my statement. I told him everything. The map, the markings, the initials, the man, his confession, the chase. Did he say his name? Wolf asked. No. He never gave his name. Description. I gave what I could, but it was mostly shadows, voice, general build. The map, I said. You need to find the map. It's at my campsite, in my backpack. It has 16 locations marked on it. They sent a team to my campsite at dawn. They found my tent, my gear, but the backpack was gone, and with it, the map. He had returned. He had taken his hunting journal. Without the map, it was his word against mine. A stressed-out hiker claiming to have seen a serial killer with a marked map. But the locations. I remembered some of the coordinates. Not all of them. I didn't have a photographic memory, but some. The one for Callisto Vale. 443172, 120.483. They sent in a forensic team. They dug, and they found something. Bones, clothes, an ID in the pocket of a decomposed jacket. Callisto Vale. Reported missing 18 months ago. I remembered another one. Tamsin Moss. 443891. 120 under 256. Another team. Another dig. Another body. Tamsin Moss. Reported missing 14 months earlier. 4 bodies were recovered in total. Callisto, Tamsin, Rowan Hart, and Birch Kemp. The 4 recent missing persons who had been in the news. But the other 12, the victims no one knew were missing, remained lost. Without exact coordinates from memory, the wilderness was too vast to search randomly. And the man was never found. Not that night, nor in the weeks that followed. No name, no identification, no clues. He had disappeared as completely as his victims. Some rangers thought he had died out there, that he had gotten lost in his own wilderness, that he had frozen or fallen or something. But I don't believe that, because he knew those woods better than anyone. Every trail, every feature, every hiding place. He's still out there, probably with a new map, marking new locations, hunting new victims, towards his goal of 30. I never went hiking alone again. I never went back to the Ochokos, and I never, ever buy used maps, because now I know that some maps aren't just navigation tools. They're records, diaries, proud confessions of crimes no one else knows about. And sometimes those maps fall into the wrong hands. Hands like mine. Hands of people who stumble upon secrets they should never have found. The families of Callisto, Tamsin, Rowan, and Birch finally had closure. Bodies recovered, funerals held, proper graves instead of makeshift pits in the wilderness. But the other 12 families, the families who don't even know their loved ones are dead, still wait. They still wonder. They still hope that one day their daughter or son or brother or sister will walk through the door. And they never will, because they are marked on a map we will never find, buried in locations only one man knows. A man who still walks the trails, still hunts, still marks his red crosses. 16 so far, 14 more to reach his goal. And every time I read about a hiker missing in the Ochocos, and there are, every few weeks it seems, I wonder if it's him, if that 17th cross was finally added to the map, or if I got lucky. If for some reason, because I made it to the ranger station, because the ranger was there, because he decided getting his map back was more important than killing me, I survived when others didn't. But luck doesn't make the nightmares stop. It doesn't stop me from seeing those red crosses every time I close my eyes. 16 of them. 16 lives reduced to coordinates and 2 initials. And somewhere out there, in a coffee shop or store or park bench, a map is waiting. A map that now has at least 17 crosses, maybe more, waiting for someone else to find it, and wonder what those marks mean, and learn the truth too late. I arrived at Deschutes State Park just after dark. It had been an 8-hour drive from Seattle, and every muscle in my body was screaming for rest. I had originally planned to arrive earlier, set up camp in daylight, maybe do a little exploring, but the traffic had been brutal. Then a flat tire, then a detour due to unexpected construction. By the time I got to the ranger station to check in, it was almost 9 o'clock at night. The ranger, a young woman with a badge that read Ranger Vesper Hale, looked at me with slight concern. "You're late," she said. "Most people have been settled for hours." "I know, it was a long day. Do you have a reservation?" "Yes, Site 34, 2 nights. She checked her computer. She nodded. "You're confirmed. Keep in mind that Site 35 is occupied. They arrived this afternoon. So you'll have a neighbor. Neighbor. Fine. Sometimes that was good. A sense of security. Someone nearby in case of emergency. Sometimes not so much. Noise. Invasion of space." "Is it very crowded?" I asked. "Not especially. It's mid-season. Scattered sites occupied but not full." She gave me a map of the campground and directions to my site. The restroom is 100 yards away. Drinking water next to the bathroom. Fires allowed, but keep them small and contained. Put them out completely before bedtime. "Got it, thanks." I drove the winding 2 miles to the campground. My car lights illuminated dense trees on both sides. Occasional signs with site numbers. 28, 30, 32. Site 34 was marked with a small post. I turned off the main road into the designated parking area. I turned off the engine. Silence. Absolute and oppressive. No sound of other campers, no music, no laughter, no crackling of campfires, just silence. And the occasional wind in the trees. My name was Thorne Ashford, 28 years old, freelance graphic designer in desperate need of a break from work, from the city, from everything. This trip had been planned months ago, time alone to reboot my brain. I got out of the car. The air was cool but not uncomfortable. October in Central Oregon, perfect for camping without the summer crowds. I grabbed my headlamp from the passenger seat and turned it on. Bright light illuminated my campsite. A dirt clearing with a stone fire ring, a wooden picnic table, and a metal pole for hanging food. And beyond, maybe 40 feet away, Site 35. I could see a tent. Large, family style, 3 rooms, with a small campfire still smoldering outside. Red embers glowing in the darkness, but I didn't see or hear anyone. Maybe they had already gone to sleep. It was late, after all. "Hello?" I called softly. I didn't want to wake anyone, but it was polite to announce my presence. Nothing. Just the wind. Okay. Tomorrow I would say hello properly. It took me 45 minutes to set up my tent in the dark. Small. 2-person. Easy to set up normally, but after 8 hours of driving, my clumsy hands struggled with the stakes and poles. Finally, I had it ready. I threw my sleeping bag inside. I placed my food properly on the pole. I didn't want any visits from bears in the middle of the night. I considered making my own campfire, but I was too exhausted. I just wanted to sleep. I crawled into the tent. I took off my boots. I crawled into the sleeping bag fully clothed, too tired to change. And I slept. Deeply. The kind of sleep that comes after long days and complete exhaustion. I woke up at dawn. Gray light filtering through the tent canvas. Birds beginning to sing. I lay there for a moment, enjoying the stillness. Then my bladder made its familiar demands. I stepped out of the tent. The morning air was crisp, my breath coming out in white clouds. The neighboring site was still quiet, the campfire now completely extinguished. The tent closed. I walked to the bathroom, a small concrete structure that was not pretty but functional. I did my business. I washed my hands with ice-cold water. When I returned to my site, I noticed something I hadn't seen in the darkness of last night. Footprints on the soft ground around my tent. Boot prints. Large, easily size 10 or 11. They weren't mine. My boots were size 8.5. The footprints formed a circle around my tent, as if someone had walked the entire perimeter, looking, watching. My stomach churned, a viscous terror rising in my throat. Someone had been here, while I slept, walking around my tent. The neighbor, probably, maybe being nosy, or maybe checking to see who had arrived late. But why walk a complete circle? Why not just knock and introduce yourself? The wind changed direction, and I smelled something, metallic, sickening, like coins left on raw meat. Blood. It smelled like blood. It was coming from Site 35. Every instinct told me to get in my car and leave, not to investigate, not to get involved. But another part, the human part, the concern part, said that maybe someone was hurt. Maybe there had been an accident. Maybe they needed help. I crept closer, my footsteps silent on the damp earth. My heart beating louder with every step. The campfire at Site 35 was out, but there was still heat coming from the ashes. It had been stoked recently, maybe an hour ago. The tent was 10 feet from the fire pit, large, blue, with mesh panels on the windows, and one of those windows had been torn, canvas cut, hanging in shreds. "Hello?" I called. "Is everything okay in there?" Silence. I moved closer, to the zippered entrance of the tent. It was open, partially, enough to see inside, and what I saw made my stomach drop through the floor. Blood. Everywhere. Splattered on the canvas walls, pools on the floor, and two bodies. A man, middle-aged, maybe 45, brown hair, dressed in camping clothes, and a boy, young, 12 years old maybe, with similar features to the man, father and son, obviously, both lying in strange positions. Arms twisted, legs bent at odd angles, around their necks, rope, tent rope, bright yellow, tightened so hard that it had embedded itself into their skin, deep red marks. Their eyes were open, glassy, staring at nothing, accusing me silently. I threw up, right there at the entrance to the tent, my stomach violently expelling everything. Dead. They were dead, strangled. When? Last night. This morning. Who? The footprints. The footprints around my tent. Oh God. Oh God, no. The killer. The killer had been standing outside my store, watching me sleep, deciding if I was next. I backed away, away from the store, away from the bodies. I needed to call someone. The police, the park ranger, someone. My phone. It was in my car. Was there a signal here? I ran to my spot, to my car. I grabbed my phone from the cup holder. No signal. 0 bars. Shit. Shit, shit, shit. The park ranger station. I needed to get back there. 2 miles down the road. I could drive there in 5 minutes. I opened the car door. I looked for my keys in my pocket. They weren't there. Where were my keys? In the store. I'd left them in the store with my wallet and other things. I ran to the store. I zipped it open. I grabbed my small bag where I kept my valuables. The keys weren't there. The wallet was there. I had had the phone. But the keys... "Looking for this," said a voice behind me. I froze, every muscle tense. I turned slowly. A man was standing 10 feet away, 30-something. Tall, 6 feet 2 at least, thin but muscular, dark hair cut short, dirty camping clothes that looked like he'd been wearing them for days. And in his hand, my car keys, hanging from his index finger, swinging. "I found them when I walked by last night," he said. His voice was calm, almost friendly. "You left them on the picnic table. It's not safe. Anyone could take them." My mouth was dry. "Give me my keys." "In a minute." He put them in his pocket. "First, we need to talk." "We don't need to talk about anything. Give me my keys, now." "You saw them, didn't you?" His eyes, gray and completely empty, fixed on me. "The bodies. At Site 35. I didn't answer. I couldn't. "That's a problem," he continued, "because now you're a witness, and I can't have witnesses." "I won't say anything. Everyone says that, and everyone lies." He took something out of his other pocket. String. New. Bright yellow, the same kind I'd seen around the victims' necks. "It was their tent," he said, pointing toward Site 35. "The father and the boy. They arrived before me yesterday. Very friendly, very talkative. They invited me to share their campfire, to make burgers together." He took a step toward me, rolling the rope between his hands. But then the boy sneezed, and his father said, "Bless you, Phoenix." And Phoenix said something about allergies, and I froze. Another step. Because there was a bulletin, a warning I'd heard on the car radio before I got here, about a fugitive from 2 counties north, escaped from prison transport 3 days ago, considered extremely dangerous. And the bulletin said my name, Hawthorne Ridge, with description, height, weight, everything. Hawthorne Ridge. That name. I'd heard it on the news. A serial killer, strangler. He'd killed how many? 6 people. On lonely roads, rest areas, truck stops. So, when the kid sneezed, he continued, when they made so much noise that any other camper could hear, I got worried. I got worried that eventually they would notice, that they would recognize me, that they would call the police. He was only 5 feet away now. I couldn't risk it, so I waited until it got dark, until they went into their tent to sleep, and then he made a strangling gesture. The rope is effective, silent. The father woke up, but it was too late. The boy never knew what happened. "Why are you telling me this?" My voice was shaking. "Because you're going to die anyway. You might as well know why." He shrugged. "And because, honestly, I'm proud of my work. The father in Site 35, Phoenix Lark, he was number 7. The boy, Cypress Lark, number 8. You'll be number 9. Someone knows I'm here." "No, they don't. I checked your registration at the station. You came alone. No group. No one waiting for you until you're due to leave in 2 days. No one will miss you until then." He was right. My family knew I was camping, but not exactly where. My friends thought I was intentionally off the grid. "And by then," he continued, "I'll have burned your tent, your car, the bodies, everything. It'll look like there was a camping accident. Campfire out of control. Happens all the time." The rope unraveled in his hands. "Ready." "You saw too much," he said. "And now you have to join the others." He lunged forward. I jumped back. My foot caught on something. A tent stake sticking out of the ground. I fell, hard, into the wet mud. My back hitting the ground. He was on top of me in seconds, his weight crushing me. The rope wrapping around my neck. "No!" I screamed, my hands grabbing the rope, trying to loosen it. "Don't fight," he hissed. "It only makes it last longer." The rope tightened, cutting off my breath, my vision starting to darken at the edges. I kicked, my legs flailing wildly, one connected with his stomach. He growled but didn't let up. 8 others couldn't stop me, his voice in my ear. "Neither can you." My hands were groping, dirt, rocks, something, anything, to use as a weapon. My fingers found something hard, a large branch. I grabbed it. I swung it. It connected with his head. He screamed. His grip loosened momentarily. I rolled, out from under him, the rope still around my neck but loose. I stood up, staggering, pulling on the rope, throwing it off. He got up too, blood running from a cut on his temple. Angry eyes. "That was stupid," he said. I ran, toward the trees, toward anywhere away from him. "You can't run," he yelled after me. "The camp is miles away. No one will hear you." Branches whipped my face. Roots tried to trip me. My lungs burned from the air the rope had cut off seconds before. His footsteps behind me. Heavy, steady, gaining ground. "Number 9, he shouted. "You are destined to be number 9. Ahead, a path, marked with small posts, leading to where? Another area of the camp, the exit. I followed it, running as fast as my legs would carry me. Behind me, closer now. I could hear his breathing, heavy, laborious, but steady. "You've been in my dreams," he shouted. "All night long I dreamt of number 9, and here you are, destiny." The path split. Left or right? Left. I took left. Bad choice. The trail ended at a rocky outcrop, a cliff dropping 50 feet to a rocky stream below. No way out. I turned. He was standing at the entrance to the trail, blocking my only escape route. "End of the road," he said, smiling, literally and figuratively. The rope in his hand again, ready. "You can jump," he offered, "or I can strangle you and throw you. Your choice." "Fuck you." Number 9 isn't very polite. He approached slowly, savoring this. I looked at the precipice, 50 feet, to rocks, probably death, certainly serious injury, or the rope, slow strangulation, like Phoenix and Cypress Lark, like the other 6. Neither option appealed to me. Then I heard it, distant but clear, bang, a gunshot. From somewhere in the camp, Hawthorne froze, his head turning toward the sound. "What?" Bang, bang, closer now. "Ranger service," a voice shouting. "Everyone in the camp, stay where you are." His eyes widened, real panic there for the first time. "Shit," he whispered. "Shit, shit, shit." He looked at me, then the trail, then back at me. He made his decision. He ran, not toward me. Back down the trail, into the deeper woods, away from the voices. "Here!" I yelled as loud as I could. "Help! I'm here!" Footsteps, multiple, approaching fast. 2 rangers appeared on the trail. One was Vesper Hale from last night. The other, an older man, with a badge that read, Ranger Granite Shaw. "Are you hurt?" Vesper asked, running toward me. The man, Hawthorne Ridge, he's here. He killed 2 people at Site 35. He tried to kill me. "We know," Granite said, speaking into his radio. "We have a survivor on the East Trail. Suspect fled into the North Woods. We need backup." How did you know?" "Someone at Site 18 reported screams this morning," Vesper explained. "We came to investigate. We found the bodies at 35. Then we saw you running toward the trees with someone chasing you." Granite had fired the warnings, scaring Hawthorne away, saving me. More rangers arrived. Police, K9 teams, helicopter with infrared lights. They took me back to camp. They wrapped me in blankets. Paramedics checked the rope mark on my neck. Red, bruised, but no permanent damage. A detective, a woman named Meridian Cross, took my statement. I told her everything. Arriving late, the footprints, finding the bodies, the attack, the chase. "Phoenix Lark and her son, Cypress," she said. "Reported missing from their camp this morning when his wife, Cypress's mother, returned from the bathroom and found them gone. She's in the hospital now. Shock. The wife. Oh God. There was a wife, a mother, who had gone to the bathroom and returned to find her family gone." "Where were they?" I asked. "Why didn't I see them arrive?" "They arrived late last night after you. They quickly set up in 35 and went to sleep. The mother, Larkspur, woke up early to use the bathroom. When she returned, the tent was as you found it. They combed the woods for 3 days, tracking dogs, search teams, helicopters. They never found Hawthorne Ridge. He had vanished into the wilderness, like a ghost. Some thought he had died out there, that the forest had taken him. But I don't believe that. Because he knew how to survive. He had evaded capture for months before this. He's still out there, hunting, strangling, counting his victims. Phoenix and Cypress Lark were buried together, father and son, in the same coffin. His wife and mother, Larkspur, broken but present at the funeral. The other 6, Hawthorne's previous victims, were also remembered. Names I only knew from reports: Sable Kemp, rest area 2 years ago; Clove Ashton, truck stop 18 months ago; Rowan Vale, remote campground 1 year ago; Indigo Cross, trail parking lot 9 months ago; Sterling Hale, picnic area 6 months ago; Azalea Ridge, different state campground 3 months ago. 8 confirmed victims, more suspected but unconfirmed. I was going to be number 9. But the shots from Granite Shaw saved me. I never went back to Deschutes State Park. I never camp alone. And every time I pitch a tent, anywhere, with anyone, I check the perimeter obsessively, looking for footprints, big boots, size 10 or 11, signs that someone has been watching, waiting, deciding if I'm the next number on their tally. And I sleep with a knife under my pillow, always, no exceptions. Because now I know that organized campgrounds, those places that are supposed to be safe, with park rangers nearby and other campers around, are not immune. Predators hunt there too, blending in, pitching tents, acting normal, until they find their next victim. And then the yellow rope comes out, and the numbers keep climbing. Hawthorne Ridge never made it to number 9, but there are others like him, other fugitives, other killers using public campgrounds as hideouts, as hunting grounds, and sometimes you pitch your tent next to theirs, and you don't know until it's too late, until the footprints appear around your perimeter, until you smell that metallic blood in the wind, until you find the neighboring tent torn open. The bodies inside, the glassy eyes accusing you, and by then, you're next. The Cape Perpetua Cloud Forest was my annual escape. Every October for the past 5 years, I had camped in the same area, a secluded clearing deep in the Oregon coastal forest, where Pacific fog rolled inland, enveloping the Sitka spruce trees like a thick white shroud. Most people didn't like camping here. Too wet, too cold, too much fog that disoriented you in minutes. But I loved it. The absolute solitude, the cushioned silence that the fog brought, the way the world shrunk to only what was 5 feet away. My name was Briar Moss, 33 years old, a literature professor in Portland who needed these days away from students, grades, modern civilization. Here, in the fog, I could simply exist. I arrived late on a Friday afternoon. The fog was already thick when I parked on the forest road, a nameless road that only locals knew. 3 miles to walk to my favorite clearing. It usually took an hour and a half. Today, with the fog, it took almost 3. Visibility was maybe 10 feet. The trees loomed like ghosts around me. The trail was barely visible under my boots. I had to use my compass and memory to navigate. I'd made this trip enough times to know the landmarks, the large rock with moss, the fallen tree that crossed the small stream, the outcropping of ferns that marked the final turn. I reached the clearing just as the day began to darken. Not that I could tell the difference. In the fog, everything was the same uniform gray whether it was noon or midnight. I set up my tent by touch rather than sight. I lit a small fire, more for company than for warmth. The flames looked strange in the fog, diffuse, as if they were burning underwater. I cooked a simple dinner, instant oatmeal and coffee. I ate while watching the fog move lazily across the clearing. It had texture here. Weight. You could almost feel it pressing against your skin. The silence was absolute. No birds. They had already gone to sleep. No squirrels. No wind. Just the occasional drip of condensation falling from the branches. Perfect. Then I heard it. A whistle. Sharp. Clear. Cutting through the fog like a razor. A simple melody. 4 notes. Up and down, repetitive. Do-do-do-da, do-do-do-da. I froze, the coffee cup halfway to my mouth. My skin prickled. My heart a dull thud in my chest. Someone else was here. In my clearing, in my forest. The whistling continued, the same melody, over and over, approaching from somewhere in the mist. Do-do-do-day, do-do-do-day. Hello, I called out. My voice sounded muffled, swallowed by the fog. The whistling stopped. Silence. Absolute and oppressive. I grabbed my flashlight, turned it on. The beam cut through the fog but didn't do much, and just illuminated the white soup, like shining a light into milk. Anyone there? Nothing. Just the sound of my own breathing. Rapid, shallow. I stood up, walked to the edge of the clearing, flashlight sweeping from left to right, trees appearing as dark pillars in the white. And then I saw it. A figure, barely visible, maybe 20 feet away, standing completely still. A man, tall, at least 6 feet, built like someone who spends a lot of time outdoors. He was carrying a backpack. A big one. External frame. The kind you use for long hikes. But there was something wrong with the backpack. It was stained, dark red, wet, dripping. "Excuse me," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "Are you lost?" He didn't answer right away. He just stood there, looking at me. Or I thought he was looking at me. It was hard to see his face in the fog. Then he moved, his hand dropping to his belt, grabbing something hanging there. A saw, for wood. Except the teeth were stained with the same thing that was on his backpack. Blood. "I'm not lost," he finally said. His voice was raspy, as if he hadn't used it in a long time. "I know exactly where I am." He began wiping his hands on his pants. Slow, deliberate movements, as if he wasn't in a hurry, as if he had all the time in the world. "Nice campfire," he continued. "Warm, cozy. Are you camping alone?" "I'm waiting for friends," I lied. "They'll be here any minute." "No," he said, "they won't. Because you didn't tell anyone where you were coming. This clearing isn't on any map, and your car is parked on a road that no one uses except local hunters, and hunting season ended last week." How did he know all that? "Have you been following me?" My voice rose despite my efforts to control it. "I didn't need to follow you. I saw you park. I saw you start walking. I knew where you were going. There's only one place far enough down that trail that's worth the trip." He took a step closer, his features still obscured by the fog, but I could see his eyes now. Cold, calculating, dead. "I had a productive day," he said, pointing to his backpack. 3 bikers. Mountain bikers. They came through the woods this morning. Very loud. Very annoying. Disturbing the peace. My stomach twisted. "What? What did you do to them?" I showed them why this place is called the Cloud Forest. He smiled. It was horrible to see. No warmth. No humanity. The fog hides many things. Sounds, sights, screams. He unhooked the saw from his belt. He held it casually, as if it were just a tool, not a weapon. "I used this," he said. "Very effective. To section, to separate. Limbs come off surprisingly easily if you know where to cut. The joints. The soft spots between bones. Oh God. Oh God, no." I left them in a clearing about half a mile north. Scattered. Like firewood. The crows have already found them. By tomorrow there won't be much left except gnawed bones. "Why?" I could barely form the word. "Why do that?" "Why not?" He shrugged. "Because I can. Because the fog protects me. Because no one searches the misty forest. It's dangerous. Easy to get lost. People disappear here all the time, and everyone just assumes they got disoriented, fell, got hurt." He started whistling again, that same 4-note melody. Do-do-do-da. "Lost in the fog, huh?" he said between whistles. "I guide. I know every tree, every rock, every hiding place in 50 square miles. I can take you where you need to go. You need to go. You don't want to go. You need to. Terror froze me for a second. Every muscle tense, every instinct screaming but my body not responding. He took another step, the saw scraping against something, tree bark, as he passed close to my tent. The sharp sound, squeaking, like nails on a chalkboard. "You're number 4, he said. 3 bikers this afternoon. You tonight. 4 bodies in 1 day. That's a personal record." My breath came out in treacherous steam in the cold air, little white clouds that mingled with the fog, signaling exactly where I was. "You don't have to run," he continued. "Running only makes it harder, more painful." The bikers ran. The first one, Saffron, made it 3 miles before I caught up with him. But eventually everyone gets tired. Everyone stumbles. And when they do, he raised the saw. "It's my turn." I ran. Not toward the trail, he was blocking that direction, toward the woods, toward the thick fog. Behind me, I heard him laugh, and then whistle. That damn tune again, do-do-do-da. The fog swallowed me immediately. 0 visibility, just white in every direction. Trees appearing as dark shadows only when I was about to crash into them. My lungs burned. The fog was thick, almost solid. Each breath piercing my lungs as if I were inhaling cold water. Branches like claws tearing at my clothes, my face, my hair snagging on the undergrowth. Behind me, the whistle, constant, getting closer. Do-do-do-da. How could it follow me? It couldn't see me in this fog. No one could see anything in this fog. But then I realized. My footsteps. It could hear me. The leaves crunching, the branches snapping, my labored breathing. I tried to move more quietly, but quieter meant slower, and slower meant it was gaining ground. I tripped over something, a root, a rock I couldn't see. I fell forward, my hands slapping damp earth, the hissing closer now, maybe 10 feet behind me. I forced myself to get up, keep moving. A tree appeared out of nowhere. I slammed into it with my shoulder, sharp pain shooting through my arm. But it blocked the view. I hid behind it, pressing myself against the rough bark, trying to make my breathing quieter. The hissing stopped. Silence, only the dripping of condensation, the beating of my heart in my ears. "Briar," it called. He used my name. How did he know my name? Briar Moss, professor from Portland, 33 years old, comes here alone to camp every October. He had researched me. He had researched me. "I read your blog," he continued, "about your camping trips, about how you love solitude, about how you never tell anyone exactly where you're going, because then it's not true solitude." Oh God, my blog. He had used it to find me, to track me down. "It makes it easy," he said. "When victims document their own habits, when they post their favorite locations, when they go, how they travel." His footsteps, crunching on the leaves, approaching the tree where I was hiding. The bikers were the same. One of them, Clover, posted her route on Instagram this morning. "Exploring Cape Perpetua with the team, Bike Life PNW adventure." Very helpful. He was right on the other side of the tree now, maybe 3 feet away, just the trunk between us. "Do you know what's easiest to sever?" His voice casual, conversational. "Arms. Cut here." I could hear him tapping his own shoulder. "At the shoulder joint. If you use the right angle, it slides right through. 10 minutes per arm, 15 if they fight." I needed to move, but if I moved, he would hear me. "Legs take longer. The hip joint is tough, and the thigh muscles are dense. 20 minutes per leg. 30 for Saffron. He was big, muscular." The saw scraped against bark. He was testing it on my tree. The sound vibrating through the trunk. But the head, pause. The head is the hardest. The neck has small bones, cartilage, tough tendons. It took almost an hour for all 3 together. I moved, silently, away from the tree, deeper into the fog. Behind me, the whistling started again, louder now, faster. Do-do-do-da, do-do-do-da. Running now, chasing, no longer stalking. I ran blindly, arms outstretched, feeling the trees before I hit them. Ahead, a sound, water, a stream. I followed it, running alongside it. the sound masking my footsteps, giving me cover. The stream widened, faster here. I needed to cross, to put water between us. I stepped in, ice-cold water up to my ankles, my knees, my waist. The current stronger than I expected. It almost knocked me down. I fought, moving to the other side, water soaking me completely. I reached the other bank. I pulled myself up, shivering from the cold, numb. Behind me, the whistling stopped. On the opposite bank. "Smart," he called, "using the water. But you know what? I can cross too." I heard splashing, him entering the stream. I kept moving, up a slope, grabbing roots, rocks, anything. My flashlight. It was still clipped to my belt. Maybe if I turned it on. No. It would make me visible. A beacon in the fog. But I was already making noise. He already knew where I was. I took the gamble. I turned on the flashlight. Bright light cutting through the fog, illuminating a clearing, small. And in it, oh God, parts, body parts, scattered just like he said. An arm, still wearing a bright orange cycling jersey. A bicycle symbol printed on the sleeve. A leg, cleanly severed at the knee. A torso, open, emptied, and heads. 3 of them, arranged in a row, facing the forest, eyes open but empty. 2 men, 1 woman, young, maybe 25, 30 years old. They had come here for fun, for adventure, and they had found this. I threw up, right there on the edge of the clearing, my stomach expelling everything. "Did you find my work?" His voice behind me, too close. I turned around. He was standing 10 feet away, soaked from the stream, the saw in one hand, in the other. Something from the backpack. A hand, cut at the wrist, held casually like a trophy. "Clover," he said, raising his hand. "She fought harder. I thought she deserved to be remembered. So I took this, for my collection." "Collection?" "I have 18. Now 19 counting this one, each from a different victim. I keep them in a freezer in my cabin. Sometimes I take them out. Look at them. Remember. 19 people. He had killed 19 people. "You'll be number 20, he said. "A round number. Significant. I should do something special for you." He started walking toward me. The saw raised. "Maybe your head, preserved properly, put somewhere I can see you every day. To remember the Portland professor who loves solitude." I ran again, circling the clearing, avoiding the body parts, trying not to look at the faces. The whistling started again, louder, more insistent. Do-do-do-da, do-do-do-da. The melody piercing my brain. I couldn't escape it. Even when I was far away, I could hear it, echoing in the fog. I needed to find something. The main trail, a path, anything. But everything looked the same. Trees, fog, trees, my compass. I still had it in my pocket. I took it out. I looked at the dial. North. I needed to go north. The main road ran north-south, if I could get there. I followed the compass, holding it in my hand, checking every few steps. The whistle more distant now. Had I lost my way? Or was I going down another path, cutting myself off? Ahead, a break in the trees, an opening. I ran toward it, and almost fell off a cliff. I managed to stop myself just in time. My toes on the edge, rocks tumbling into the darkness below. A ravine, maybe 50 feet deep, impossible to climb down in the fog, impossible to see the bottom. "No way out," said a voice behind me. I turned. He was there, 5 feet away. The saw held like a sword, pointed at me. "You can jump," he offered. "Or I can use this. Your choice." "Why?" The question came out as a sob. "Why do this?" "Because the fog calls to me. Because when I walk in it, I become something else, more than human. A perfect predator. And the fog heeds my sins." He took a step forward. I backed up, closer to the edge. The bikers, they didn't know what hit them. Saffron went first. I grabbed him off his bike. One of his friends, Rowan, tried to help, so I cut him down too. And Clover, sweet Clover, she ran. She made it almost a mile before she stumbled, And then he made a slashing gesture, my heel on the edge now, nowhere to go but down. But you, he continued, you're special. Because you came here looking for solitude, and you found it. Ultimate solitude, the ultimate separation from humanity. He raised the saw, ready to swing. Then I heard it, distant but clear. An engine, a vehicle, on the main road. His head turned toward the sound. Shit, he whispered, the engine closer. Lights, car lights, piercing the fog. Help! I yelled with all the strength in my lungs. Here, help! He looked at me, decision crossing his face. Then he turned and ran into the fog, into the darkness, disappearing as completely as if he had never been there. The vehicle stopped, doors opening, voices. Hello? Does anyone need help? Here, I yelled again. In the ravine! Flashlight beams, multiple, getting closer. 2 park rangers appeared out of the fog, a man and a woman, uniforms, radios. Miss, are you hurt? A man, a killer, killed 3 cyclists. Dismembered them. They're in a clearing. They need... The words coming out fast. Hysterical. The female park ranger. Her badge said Ranger Indigo Thorne, spoke into her radio. We need backup at Cape Perpetua. Possible multiple victims, suspect in area. They took me back to the road, to their vehicle. They wrapped me in blankets. They gave me water. More park rangers arrived. Police, search teams. I led them to the clearing, to the horror. They found saffron, rowan, and clover. Or parts of them. Scattered, as he said. They found evidence of a makeshift camp, a small tent hidden in dense undergrowth. Inside, a portable freezer. And in it, 19 hands, cut off at the wrists, preserved, labeled with names and dates, his trophies, his collection. But they didn't find him. Not that night, nor in the weeks that followed. He had disappeared into the fog, like a ghost. The 19 hands were identified. 19 people missing in the last 5 years. All from areas around Cape Perpetua. All reported lost in the cloud forest. All assumed accidents. The 3 cyclists, Saffron Reed, Rowan Vale, and Clover Hale, were buried after their remains were recovered and stitched together as best as possible. I was number 20. Except I survived. By accident. By luck. By rangers passing by at the right moment. I never went back to Cape Perpetua. I never walk in fog. And I never, ever camp alone. Because now I know that fog doesn't just hide the landscape. It hides predators. Killers who use the thick white as camouflage. Who whistle as they hunt. Who collect body parts like trophies. And sometimes, on nights when the fog rolls over Portland, I hear that whistle. That 4-note melody piercing the damp air. Do-do-do-da. It's not real. I know it's not real. It's my brain replaying trauma. PTSD manifesting as auditory hallucination, but knowing that doesn't make it stop. It doesn't make it any less terrifying when I wake up at 3 in the morning and hear it outside my window. When I walk home from work and hear it in the traffic. When I close my eyes and see him standing in the fog with his saw and his backpack dripping with blood, and I wonder if he's still out there, hunting, whistling, dismembering, adding hands to his collection that's no longer in that freezer because the police have it as evidence. He probably has a new freezer now, a new cabin, a new hunting ground, 20 hands, 21 counting the one he had when he found me, 22 if he had caught me. How many does he have now? 25, 30. How many more people will disappear in misty woods? How many more will be found years later when someone stumbles upon a clearing full of body parts? How many more families will wait for hikers who will never come home, and somewhere, in some forest where the fog curls thickly between the trees, there is a man whistling, a simple tune, 4 notes, up and down, do-do-do-da, an echo of sawed bones, a soundtrack for nightmares, a reminder that some predators don't growl or roar, some whistle. I should have chosen a more popular trail, one with more people, more witnesses, more safety. But I wanted something quiet, something for beginners, but not crowded. So I chose the Blue River Trail in the Sierras National Park, marked as easy on all the websites, perfect for solo campers like me. My name was Cypress Branwin, 26 years old. It was my first truly solo camping trip. I had gone with friends before, with family, with organized groups, but never completely alone. And I had decided it was time. Time to prove to myself that I could be independent, self-sufficient. My backpack was loaded with more than I needed. Canned food, first aid kit, 3 different maps of the area. One from the visitor center, one downloaded from the internet, one crumpled one I found in a thrift store. I probably had 40 pounds on my back. Too much for the 6 miles I planned to walk. But better over-prepared than under-prepared, right? I started the hike at noon. The trail was exactly as promised, well-maintained, clearly marked, with a gradual ascent that didn't punish my untrained legs too much. I passed a few groups during the first 2 hours. A family with small children, an older couple with hiking poles, a group of 3 young people with expensive gear who looked like pros. They all greeted me. They all smiled. Everything seemed normal, safe. By the 4-mile mark, the crowd had thinned out. The trails split here. The main route continued toward the popular destination, an alpine lake. My route veered off toward a less visited area, a designated campground next to a small stream. The secondary trail was less maintained, more overgrown. But the markers were still there. Blue posts every 100 meters telling me I was going in the right direction. The sun was beginning to set when I finally reached the campground. A small clearing with 3 designated sites, each with its own fire ring and makeshift picnic table made of logs. I was completely alone. All 3 sites were empty. Perfect. I chose the site furthest from the trail, more private, better view of the creek. I dropped my backpack with a groan of relief. My shoulders throbbed where the straps had been cutting in. I spent the next hour setting up camp. The tent was harder than I remembered. It was always difficult without someone holding the other end. But eventually I had it up. Sleeping bag inside. Food hung properly on the bear pole. I made a small campfire. I heated up a can of stew. It wasn't gourmet, but it was hot and filling. As I ate, the light changed, the sun sinking behind the mountains, shadows lengthening. That special blue moment just before, complete darkness. Then I heard the voices. Distant, coming from the trail. Probably other campers arriving late like me. But there was something strange about the voices. Not normal conversation, more like screams, choppy, urgent. And then a sound that made my blood run cold. A wet gurgling, as if someone was trying to scream but couldn't, as if something was blocking their throat. My pulse raced. Sticky sweat ran down my back despite the cool air. "Hello?" I called toward the trail. "Is everything okay?" Nothing. Just silence, and the bubbling of the stream. Maybe I had imagined it. Maybe it was just animals. Maybe my anxious brain was turning normal sounds into something sinister. But then I heard it again, clearer this time. Definitely human, definitely distress. I instinctively crouched behind a fallen log, my heart pounding in my ears like a cornered animal. I should run, I thought. I should grab my backpack and run back to the main trail. But what if someone needed help? What if there had been an accident? I forced myself to move, toward the trail, stealthily, keeping low, using trees for cover. The sounds were coming from a clearing about 100 yards from the campsite, just off the main trail, hidden by dense pine trees. I approached, inch by inch, my breathing shallow, hands shaking, and then I saw it. 3 bodies, fallen on the ground in the clearing, in strange positions, twisted. I recognized them. The group of 3 young people I had seen on the trail, the ones who looked professional. But they didn't look professional anymore. They looked dead. Their throats had been slit, from ear to ear. Cuts so deep that I could see white muscle and pale bone through the red flesh. Blood everywhere, soaking their shirts. Dark pools spreading across the ground. The smell. God, the smell. Copper and flesh, and something sweeter. Nauseating. I threw up. Right there behind the tree. As quietly as I could, but my stomach emptied violently. What happened? An animal? A bear? But no. The cuts were too clean, too precise, too intentional. Someone had done this. Someone with a knife. I needed to get out of there. Now. I backed away. Toward the camp. Toward my tent. I needed to grab my things and run. Then I heard footsteps. Heavy. Deliberate. Coming toward the clearing. I froze. Hidden behind a large bush. Barely breathing. A figure emerged from the trees on the opposite side of the clearing. A man. Tall, heavy build. He was wearing ranger clothes. Green cargo pants, work shirt, wide-brimmed hat. But the clothes were stained. Dark red. Fresh. And in his hand, a hunting knife. Large. The blade still dripping. He stood over the bodies. He looked at them. No emotion, no horror, just satisfaction. 3 more, he muttered, his voice rough. That makes 32 this season. 32. He had killed 32 people. He took something out of his pocket. A small notebook. He opened it. He took out a pencil. He made marks. A record. He was keeping a record of his victims. Intruders, he continued, talking to himself. All intruders. Coming into my forest. My territory. Thinking they can just walk in and camp wherever they want. He knelt down next to the first body, a young woman with brown hair. He began searching her pockets. Nice gear, he said, pulling out her wallet. Cash, credit cards, $600. Not bad. He was robbing her, robbing his victims. He moved to the second body, a bearded man. He took his watch, his phone, an expensive folding knife from his belt. This will sell well, he muttered. The third body, another man, younger. He took his entire backpack. He opened it. He began pulling things out. Food, camping gear, a camera. GoPro, he said, smiling. Thanks for the donation. He finished looting. He stood up. He looked around the clearing. The bears will find these by tomorrow, he said. They'll do the dirty work. By the time someone finds them, if anyone finds them, the evidence will be gone. Food. Bears are always hungry. He was using the bodies as bait, to erase evidence. I've been doing this for months, he continued, ever since those idiots fired me. They said I was stealing supplies. They said I was inappropriate. Well, guess what? I don't work for the park anymore. I don't follow their rules anymore. This is my forest now, and I charge tolls. A park ranger. He had been a park ranger, fired for theft, and now he was killing people. He started walking, toward the edge of the clearing, toward where I was hiding. I held my breath. Don't move. Don't make a sound. He passed 3 feet from my hiding place, so close I could smell the blood on his clothes, see the splatters on his boots. He kept walking, back toward the trail. I waited. 1 minute, 2, until I couldn't hear his footsteps anymore. Then I ran, back to camp, to my tent. I needed to grab my backpack, my things, leave. But when I got to camp, I saw something that made my stomach drop. My backpack was open, my things scattered. He had been here. He had gone through my camp, and on my makeshift picnic table, there was a message, written in blood, still wet. You're next on the list. Oh God, he'd seen me. He knew I was here. I grabbed what I could, my crumpled map, a water bottle, my flashlight. I left the rest. Too heavy. Too slow. I needed to run. Now. I heard a snap behind me, a branch breaking under a heavy boot. I turned. He was standing at the edge of the campsite, the knife still in his hand, bloodshot eyes, smiling. I thought there might be more campers, he said, always worth checking. And look, I found a bonus. He took a step toward me. Cypress Branwyn, he said. He used my name. It says so in the logbook at the trailhead. Camping alone. First time. How brave. I don't want any trouble, I managed to say. I'm leaving. I won't tell anyone. Everyone says that, he interrupted, but no one follows through. So I learned it's easier to just not leave any witnesses. He lunged forward, the knife whistling toward my throat. I jumped back, the blade grazing my ear. So close, I felt the displacement of air. I fell. I rolled. I stood up, staggering. Run. His voice was playful. Make it interesting. The last 3 didn't even try. They were boring. I ran. Not down the path. He'd be waiting there. Into the woods. Anywhere away from him. 33, he yelled behind me. You're going to be number 33. Branches whipped my face. Roots tried to trip me. My breath a hiss tearing through my throat. Behind me, his footsteps. Heavy, steady, not running, walking fast, confidently. He knew I would eventually tire. The ground sloped downward, steep, dangerous. I didn't care. I kept moving, half running, half sliding. My foot caught on something. I fell, and I started rolling. Down the hill, out of control, branches like claws tearing my skin, rocks hitting my ribs, my head. I rolled maybe 50 feet before hitting something that stopped me. A tree. My back connecting with the trunk, pain exploding through my body. I lay there, dazed, bleeding, barely conscious. Up the slope, I heard him, cursing, sliding, trying to get down. I forced myself to move, every part of me screaming in protest. But fear, pure animal terror, propelled me forward. I stood up, staggering, my left ankle sending sharp pain with every step. A stream. I could hear it. Ahead, maybe 100 yards. I followed it, running, limping, barely staying on my feet. The stream widened, faster here, deeper. I stepped in, ice-cold water up to my knees, my waist, my chest. The current nearly knocked me over, but I fought it. To the other side, behind me, I heard splashing. He was crossing too. You can't escape, his voice echoing in the ravine. I know this forest, every tree, every trail, every hiding place. I kept moving, water dripping from my clothes, numb from the cold, shivering. Ahead, a trail, different from the one I had taken, wider, more worn, a main trail. I followed it, up, my lungs burning, my legs barely functioning. Signs. I started to see signs. Distance markers, directional signs. Entrance station, 2 miles. 2 miles. I could do 2 miles. Behind me, more distant now. I'd gained some distance, but not enough. I couldn't stop. I couldn't rest. I kept walking. Every step agony. Every breath fire. 1 mile. The marker said 1 mile. The trail widened more. More signs. More indications of civilization. Half a mile. Voices. I could hear voices. People. Campers. Real park rangers. Help! I shouted with what was left of my voice. Help! There's a man! A killer! Figures appeared on the trail. 2 park rangers. Real uniforms. Real badges. Miss, are you hurt? He's coming. I pointed behind me. A man. He has a knife. He killed 3 people. Maybe more. 32, he said. He has a record. The rangers exchanged glances. One. His badge said, Ranger Saffron Vale, spoke into his radio. Possible emergency on Blue River Trail. Victims reported. Armed suspect in area. The other, Ranger Indigo Cross, led me toward the entrance station, to safety. More rangers arrived, police, search teams. I told them everything, the bodies, the clearing, the former ranger, his confession, the message in blood. Describe the man, asked a detective, a woman named Larkspur Thorne. I gave what I could, tall, heavy build, blood-stained ranger clothing, large hunting knife. Shit, muttered one of the rangers, an older man named Granite Wolf. That sounds like Rowan Kemp. He was fired 4 months ago for stealing supplies from inventory. Rowan Kemp. Larkspur took out her phone. She searched for the name. She showed a photo. It was him. no doubt. He has a record, she said. Assault, theft. He was in prison 2 years before he got the ranger job. They said he'd turned his life around. She grimaced. Guess not. They sent teams to the clearing. They found the 3 bodies, exactly as I described them. They identified them. Meadow Ashton, 27 Sterling Hale, 29 Clover Ridge, 25 all reported as arriving at the park that morning. All registered as planning to camp in the Blue River area. They found Rowan's notebook. His log. Dropped when he fled. 32 names, 32 people, all with dates, all with descriptions of what he took from them. How much money, what gear. It was a log of murder and theft. Meticulously kept, but they didn't find him. Not that night, or in the days that followed. He had vanished into the forest he knew so well. His forest, as he called it. The search continued for weeks. Teams with dogs. Helicopters. Drones with thermal cameras. They found more bodies. 8 in total. 8 of the 32 on his list. All in various states of decomposition. All with their throats slit. All partially devoured by bears and other predators, just as he had planned. But 24 remained unfound, lost in the vast forest. Their families left with no answers, no closure. And Rowan Kemp was never caught. He became a legend. The fallen guardian, the news called him, a protector turned predator. Some thought he had died out there, that the forest had finally taken him. But I don't believe that, because he knew that forest, every tree, every trail, every hiding place. He had said so. He's still out there, hunting, collecting his toll, adding names to a new registry. 33. I was going to be 33, but I escaped, by luck, by adrenaline, by actual rangers arriving at the right moment. The crumpled map I grabbed when I fled, I still have it, stained with my blood from the cuts on my hands, crumpled more from when I clutched it during my escape. I should throw it away, burn it, forget. But I keep it. As a reminder. As proof that it wasn't a nightmare. Because sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see that clearing. Those 3 bodies. Those throats sliced from ear to ear. That blood soaking the earth like red rain. And I hear his voice. You're next on the list. I never went camping alone again. I never returned to the Sierra National Park. And I never, ever trust park rangers in uniform without checking their badges. Because I learned that protectors can become predators. That authority can be corrupted. That the man in uniform and badge could be the most dangerous of all. Meadow, Sterling, and Clover were buried by their families, young, with their whole lives ahead of them, cut short by a monster who felt the forest was his to control. The other 8 recovered. They were also returned to their families. They also received proper funerals. But 24 remain out there, in makeshift graves that only Rowan Kemp knows about. In his logbook that we never recovered. How many more now? 40? 50? When will it stop? It won't. Because to him this isn't crime. It's order. It's justice. It's collecting tolls for using his forest. And the forest hides him well. So vast. So remote. So many places to bury secrets. Sometimes I watch the news, looking for stories of hikers missing in the Sierras. There are some, every season. Dozens reported missing, some found, many not. How many of them are Rowan's victims? How many names did he add to his log? And I wonder about the other rangers, the real ones. Saffron, Indigo, Granite. How does it feel to know that one of their own became this? How do they keep patrolling those trails, knowing he could be out there? Maybe that's why they never caught him. Because he thinks like them. He knows their patterns. He knows where they will look and where they won't. Always one step ahead. Always hidden. Always hunting. And somewhere, in some remote clearing in the Sierra National Park, there are 3 more fresh bodies. From last week, maybe. Or yesterday. Because Rowan doesn't stop. He can't stop. It's his purpose now. His reason for existing. to take a toll, to keep records, to feed the bears. And someday, maybe, someone else will stumble upon a clearing. They will see bodies with slit throats. They will smell that nauseating mixture of copper and flesh, and they will run, like I ran, rolling down the hill, branches tearing at my skin, absolute terror driving every step. And maybe, if they're lucky, they'll escape too. They'll live to tell the story, to warn others. Or maybe they'll become the next name on the tally, the next number in the count. Because not everyone escapes the fallen guardian. Not everyone survives its toll. And the red-stained map in my pocket reminds me of that every day. It reminds me that I was close. So close to being number 33. That trails marked for beginners are not always safe. That danger does not only come from wild animals or weather. Sometimes it comes from humans. From former park rangers with grudges. From predators dressed as protectors. And that sometimes the worst decision you can make is to camp alone in a place where no one knows exactly where you are. Where a man with a knife and a logbook can simply add you to his tally. Another intruder. Another toll collected. Another body for the bears. I should have trusted my initial instinct. When I arrived at the campsite by Crater Lake in Idaho and saw the 4 tents already pitched, my first thought was to move on. Find a more secluded spot, more private. But I had driven 6 hours. I was exhausted, and the site was perfect, right on the lakeshore, with a view of the mountains, a large fire ring already prepared, and the people seemed friendly, normal. My name was Juniper Alcott, 30 years old. I worked as an interior designer in Boise and needed a weekend away from work, demanding clients and city life. Just 2 days of peace by the water. When I parked, one of them, a man with gray hair and a broad smile, waved at me. "Hi, looking for a place to camp?" "Yes, but I see this spot is already taken." "There's plenty of room. It's a big site. 5 tents allowed." "There are only 4 of us. Join us." I should have said no. I should have driven on, but they seemed genuinely friendly. And after a long day, the idea of sharing a campfire sounded nice. "Are you sure it's not a problem?" "Not at all. The more the merrier. I'm Granite Wolf." He extended his hand, firm, warm. "This is my wife, Larkspur." He pointed to a woman of similar age fixing something in her tent. "And over there." He pointed to 2 younger men by the lake, our friend Sterling and a guy we met today, Sable, also a solo traveler, like you. An impromptu group. Not everyone knew each other. That made me feel better. I wasn't interrupting a private family trip. "I'm Juniper," I said. "Thanks for sharing the space." "No problem. Settle in. We're making a campfire for dinner in an hour." I set up my tent in the available space, the furthest from the others, still wanting some privacy. I organized my things. I changed into more comfortable clothes. By the time I was done, the fire was burning, nice and hot. The others were already gathered around, Granite and Larkspur on logs together, clearly married for decades. They moved in sync, finished each other's sentences. That kind of comfortable long-term love. Sterling, maybe 25 years old with expensive gear and an easy smile. Granite's friend from his working days, apparently. He told stories about his camping trips, exotic places he had visited, and Sable. Sable was different, quiet, observant, sitting slightly apart from the group. Not exactly antisocial, but not fully participating either. Maybe 35, 40 years old. Average build, unkempt brown hair, worn camping clothes that had seen better days. And his hands. When I looked at his hands, I saw scars. Lots of them. Small white lines crisscrossing his knuckles, burn marks on his palms. "Carpenter," he explained when he caught me looking. His voice was soft, almost whispering. "Work accidents. You know how it is." I nodded. It made sense. Carpenters cut themselves. They burn themselves with tools. Dangerous occupation. Granite cooked hamburgers on a portable grill. Larkspur made potato salad. Sterling contributed chips and dip. I offered my s'mores supplies, marshmallows, chocolate, graham crackers. It was nice, normal. The kind of camp-out night I had hoped for. Good food, good company. Stories shared under the stars. Sterling told about climbing Kilimanjaro. Larkspur about her 30th wedding anniversary. Granite about teaching her granddaughter to fish. I shared about my job, ridiculous clients, the stress of last-minute renovations. Sable mostly listened, occasionally nodded, smiled at the appropriate moments, but he never shared anything about himself, never offered stories, just watched. Around 11, Sterling yawned. We should turn in soon. Long day of hiking tomorrow. One more, Granite said. One more story. Sable, how about you? You haven't shared anything. Sable looked at the fire, the flames reflecting in his eyes. Finally, he spoke. Do you know the myth of the forest ghosts? We all shook our heads. Local legend, he continued. They say that certain campsites are cursed, that the spirits of dead campers haunt the campfires, waiting for company. He laughed. A strange sound, more of a growl than a laugh, harsh, without real humor. Of course, it's just a story, he added. Ghosts don't exist. The only dangers in the forest are real. He reached for his backpack. He took out a bottle, dark glass, no label. Whiskey, he announced, to celebrate new friendships. But when he unscrewed the cap, the smell that came out wasn't whiskey. It was chemical, harsh, like gasoline mixed with something sweeter, nauseating. My stomach clenched. A deadly chill crept up my legs. That doesn't smell like whiskey, I said carefully. Homemade whiskey, Sable explained. My uncle makes it, strong, intense, but effective. He pulled 4 metal cups from his backpack. He lined them up on a log. Who wants to join in? He began pouring the liquid. Dark, viscous, definitely not whiskey. Granite held out his hand. I'll try it. I'm always up for trying something new. Me too, said Larkspur. Granite and I share everything. Sterling shrugged. Why not? 1 drink won't hurt. 3 cups filled. Sable handed one to each of them. Juniper? He offered me the 4th cup. I don't drink, I lied. Medicine can't mix. Her eyes narrowed. Just for a second, then she shrugged. More for us. She lifted her own cup, poured liquid into it. A toast, she said. To new friendships. To nights around campfires. To sharing eternal warmth. Eternal warmth. Strange phrase. The 4 of them raised their cups. Granite, Larkspur, Sterling, Sable. Cheers, they said in unison. And they drank. The first few seconds were normal. They swallowed. They grimaced, the taste clearly unpleasant, but not alarming. Then Granite started coughing. A deep, harsh cough that shook her whole body. Strong, certainly, she gasped. Larkspur put her hand on her throat. Granite, are you okay? But she started coughing too, and Sterling, all 3 of them coughing, choking, clutching their throats. What? Sterling fell from her stump, to the ground, her hands scratching at the dirt. Granite tried to stand, she couldn't. Her legs gave way. She collapsed next to Sterling. Larkspur screamed, a horrible, choked sound before falling to. And then the convulsions began, all 3 of them writhing on the ground. Foam, white and pink, forming in their mouths, their eyes bulging, glassy, filled with pure terror. What's happening? My voice barely a whisper. What did you do? Sable set her cup down carefully, still full. She hadn't drunk any of it. Cyanide, she said casually. Dissolved in ethanol and a little syrup. The gasoline smell is from the cyanide. Most people don't know that. They think it's just bad liquor. Cyanide. She'd poisoned them. Why? I could barely form the question. Why? She repeated, as if it were obvious. Because I can. Because it's easy. Because people are stupid. They trust. They share. They drink from strangers. She stood up, She walked toward the convulsing bodies, the convulsions already subsiding, their bodies shutting down, dying. It usually takes 5 minutes, he explained. The cyanide blocks oxygen to the cells. The brain dies first, then the heart, then everything else. Granite stopped moving, his eyes open but empty, dead. Larkspur seconds later, her hand still outstretched toward her husband, trying to reach him in her final moments. Sterling was the last, young. Strong, he fought harder, but eventually his convulsions ceased as well. 3 bodies. Still, silent, dead 5 feet from the warm campfire. 5 before these, Sable continued. Different camps, different states, always the same. Joined groups, offered drink, watch. 5. He had killed 5 people before this. What are you? My voice trembling. A nomad, he said. I travel, I camp, I find groups, and I collect. He knelt beside Granite. He took her hand. He slipped a gold wedding ring from her finger. He held it up to the light of the fire. Memories, he explained. Each one tells a story. This one, married 30 years, family man, loved camping. He moved to Larkspur. He took her set of rings, engagement and wedding, both with small diamonds. Devoted wife, never left her husband's side, even in death. Sterling had no rings. But he wore a necklace, a silver chain with a small cross. Sable ripped it off. Memory will work just as well. He put them in a small pocket in his jacket. With the others, I assumed. 5 previous victims, 5 sets of memories. And then he turned to me. Your turn, he said. Share the eternal warmth. I stood up, backing away from the fire, away from him. I didn't drink, I said. You didn't kill me, I can leave. I won't tell anyone. But you saw. His eyes, once observant, now completely empty, fixed on me. You saw everything, and I can't have witnesses. He pulled something from his belt, a knife, small but sharp, the blade glinting in the firelight. I originally planned 4 tonight, he said. But 5 is better, a round number. He moved toward me, not quickly, unhurried, confident. I can make this easy, he continued. 1 quick cut, here. He pointed to his own throat. Or hard, multiple cuts, painful, your choice. Panic washed over me, pure animal terror flooding every cell. I couldn't outrun him. He was bigger, stronger, armed, but he was between me and the lake, water. If I could just get to the water. I turned and ran, toward the tents, toward my car, anywhere. He chased me, his heavy footsteps behind me. There's no point in running, he shouted. We're in the middle of nowhere. The closest car is mine. Everyone's keys are in my pockets. He had stolen the keys. Of course he had. Part of his preparation. I ran past the tents. My car. I checked the door. Locked. My keys were in my tent. There was no time to look for them. The fire. The fire was between us now. I grabbed something. A can of soup from my supply box. I threw it at him. It connected with his shoulder. He staggered but didn't fall. I grabbed more. Cans. Plates. Whatever. Throwing everything. A can hit his hand. The knife fell. It landed near the fire. We both lunged for it at the same time. He got there first. He grabbed it. He turned toward me. I grabbed a stick from the fire, burning at one end. I swung it at him. It hit his arm. The smell of burning fabric, burnt skin. He roared. In pain and rage, he attacked me, not with the knife, with his hands. He grabbed me by my jacket. The fire. We were too close to the fire. Flames licking my jacket, intense heat against my back, his stale breath on my face. Your turn, he hissed. Share the heat. I pushed him with all my strength. Back toward the fire, but he kept his grip on my jacket. He pulled me with him. Both of us falling, toward the flames. I rolled. Away. My jacket singed but not lit. He wasn't so lucky. His shirt caught fire, flames climbing up his back. He screamed, rolled on the ground, trying to put out the flames. I ran again, this time toward the lake, toward the water. Behind me, still screaming, still on fire, but getting to his feet, still chasing. Despite the pain, despite the burns. "Come back here," his voice torn, desperate. I reached the edge of the lake, black water stretching out before me, cold, deep. I didn't think, I just jumped. The cold hit me like a punch, icy water seeping into my bones, stealing my breath. But I swam, toward the opposite side, toward anywhere away from him. Behind me, I heard splashing. He had entered the water too. "You can't escape," his voice echoing across the water. "This lake is my territory. I've hunted here before." I swam harder, my arms burning, my lungs screaming for air, but the water was very cold. Too cold. I could already feel my limbs going numb. The current. There was a current. I could feel it pulling me, away from the shore, toward the deepest center of the lake. I fought against it, trying to stay on course toward the opposite shore. Behind me, his splashes more distant. Was he losing ground? Or could I simply not hear him over my own struggle? My fingers touched something. Rock, the opposite shore. I pulled myself up, out of the water, collapsing onto solid ground, shivering violently, soaked, freezing, but alive. I looked back across the lake. I could see the campfire, still burning, lighting up the tents, the bodies. But I didn't see Sable, still in the water. Had he reached the shore? Was he looking for me? I didn't stay to find out. I forced myself to get up, to move. There was a service road on this side. I'd seen it on the map, used by park rangers. It led to a station, maybe 2 miles. I could do 2 miles. I started walking. My bare feet. I'd lost my shoes in the water, cutting into rocks. My wet clothes weighing a ton, but moving, always moving. Every shadow looked like him, every sound like footsteps, but I kept walking. 1 mile. The trail marker said 1 mile. My teeth were chattering so hard I thought they would break. 1/2 mile. Up ahead, lights, artificial light, the ranger station, help. My voice barely working, throat raw from screaming, from swallowing lake water. Help. A door opened. A ranger, young man in uniform, came out. "Miss, what happened?" "Murder," I gasped. "Campsite, Crater Lake, a man, poison. He killed 3 people. He tried to kill me. Calm down, breathe." "Where?" "Site 12. My tent, blue, still there. 3 bodies, by the fire, poisoned, with cyanide." He said cyanide. The ranger, his badge said, "Ranger Clover Thorne," spoke into his radio. "Need backup at Crater Lake, Site 12. Multiple victims reported. Suspect possibly in area." He wrapped me in a blanket. He took me inside. He gave me hot coffee. My hands were shaking so badly I almost spilled it. More rangers arrived. Police, paramedics who checked my hypothermia. A detective, a woman named Vesper Hale, took my statement. I told her everything. The group, the campfire, the whiskey, the poison, the 3 dying, the rings, the chase, the water. "Describe the man," she asked. 30-something, maybe 40. Brown hair, average build, scars on his hands, burns. He called himself Sable. I don't know if that was his real name. Any other distinguishing features? He said he was a carpenter, that the scars were from work. But now I think maybe they were from something else, from handling poison, or from previous victims fighting back. They sent teams to the campsite. They found the 3 bodies. Granite Wolf, 58, Larkspur Wolf, 56, Sterling Hale, 26, all dead. Cyanide poisoning confirmed by medical examiner. They found the bottle, still half full of the lethal liquid tagged as evidence. They found Sable's backpack. Inside, the pocket of keepsakes. 8 sets, not 5, 8. He had lied about his tally, or he had killed more since his last confession. 8 rings, 3 chains, 2 bracelets, later identified as belonging to campers who had gone missing in 5 different states over 2 years. But they didn't find him. Not that night, or in the weeks that followed. They dredged the lake, dive teams, sonar. Nothing. Some thought he had drowned, that the cold water had taken him, especially with the burns. Hypothermia would have set in quickly, but they never found a body, and without a body there was no certainty. He could still be out there, dry, healing, planning his next campfire, his next hunt. The funerals were devastating. Granite and Larkspur buried together as they had lived. Sterling returned to his family in Oregon. The other 8 victims, identified from the memories, were also returned to their families. Cases closed. Families finally with answers. But how many more we didn't find? How many victims without memories, without rings, just gone, filed away as lost in the wilderness? I sold my camping gear, everything. I never went camping again. I never went back to campfires. Because now, every time I smell wood smoke, every time someone offers drinks around a fire, I smell that chemical smell. Gasoline mixed with syrup, cyanide disguised as hospitality, and I see those 3 bodies. Granite reaching for Larkspur, Sterling still with eyes full of betrayed confusion, pink foam in their mouths, and I hear that voice. Share the eternal warmth. Eternal warmth. Death by chemical fire. Cells burning from within from lack of oxygen. Sometimes I wonder about the others. The campers Sable joined before our group. If they were friendly too. If they trusted too. If they drank from his unlabeled bottle too. And I wonder if he's still out there. If he'd survived the lake. If his burns healed. If he found new clothes. New name. New hunting grounds. If there are campfires now with a quiet stranger sitting slightly apart, watching, waiting for the right moment to offer his homemade whiskey, and if there are more memories in his pocket. Number 9, 10, 11. Because people like Sable don't stop. It's their purpose, their art, collecting moments, collecting lives, collecting memories of those who trusted the stranger by the fire, and the crackling of any campfire, even in the city, even behind glass, makes me smell poison in the air, makes me see pink foam, makes me hear that laughter twist into a growl. The ghost of the forest was not a myth. It was him, Sable, stalking campsites, waiting for company, offering eternal warmth through chemical death. And somewhere, at some remote campsite by another lake, there are 4 tents and a fire. And a quiet man with scars on his hands telling stories about ghosts. And tomorrow there will be bodies and missing rings and families waiting for campers who will never return, because the toxic nomad still travels, still hunts, still collects. And I survived, but I carry my own scars now, not on my hands, in my mind, in my nightmares, in the ghostly smell of gasoline that haunts me when there should only be wood smoke. I chose the waterfall specifically for the noise, the constant deafening roar of water crashing over rocks. I wanted to drown out the silence of the forest, that oppressive silence that makes every little sound seem amplified, every branch creaking, every bird calling, every thought in your own head. The waterfall would drown it all out, and I could fish in the pool below. Rainbow trout, according to local reports, plentiful, easy to catch. My name was Lark Meridian, 35 years old, accountant in Salem, Oregon, taking a week's vacation alone. No job, no family, no commitments. Just me, my fishing rod, and the water. The spot I chose was perfect. A small clearing 20 yards from the pool, close enough to hear the constant roar, but not so close that the mist would soak me. I had a direct view of the water, of the large rocks where I could stand to cast. I set up my tent in less than an hour. I organized my gear. I prepared my rod, a Shimano I had bought specifically for this trip, lures, live bait in a small container, fishing license validated and in my pocket. Everything was fine. Everything was legal. Everything was ready for 3 days of peaceful, solitary fishing. The first day was exactly that. Peaceful. And I caught 2 trout for dinner. I cleaned them, I cooked them over my small campfire. I ate them while watching the water roar and crash. That night, I slept to the sound of the water as my soundtrack. Constant, relentless, like being inside a giant engine, but oddly comforting, predictable. The second day, the morning of the second day, is when everything changed. I woke up early, around 6, dawnlight barely filtering through the trees. I made coffee on my camp stove, ate granola bars, got dressed in my fishing gear. By 8, I was standing on the rocks, rod in hand, baiting my hook with an artificial cricket that was supposed to be irresistible to trout. I cast, the line flying in a perfect arc, landing in the pool with a soft plop I could barely hear over the roar of the waterfall. I waited, watching the water, the hypnotic movement of the current, the eddies where the water from the waterfall hit the pool, and then I saw something, at the edge of my vision, something that shouldn't be there. Color, brightly colored clothing, floating just below the surface. At first I thought it was trash. Someone had thrown away a jacket, a backpack, something. But then the object turned in the current, and I saw a face, pale, swollen, purple in places, with eyes open staring at nothing, a body. There was a body in the water. I dropped my rod. It fell at my feet with a clatter of plastic on rock. My brain trying to process. Drowning accident. Someone who had fallen from the rocks. But then I saw the second body, floating a few feet from the first, also in bright clothes, also with a pale, swollen face. 2 bodies. 2 dead people in the water. The horror hit me like the current. Physical. Visceral. A punch to the stomach that knocked the wind out of me. Shaky hands. Pulse racing in my temples. The world tilting sickeningly. I forced myself to move. Closer to the water's edge. To see better. To be sure of what I was seeing. The first body was a woman. Young. Maybe 25. Blonde hair floating around her head like seaweed. She was wearing a bright pink hiking shirt and cargo pants. And her wrists, God, her wrists had deep marks, red, rough, as if she had been tied up, as if she had struggled against restraints. The second body was also a woman, similar age, brown hair, bright blue jacket, also with marks on her wrists. In her pockets, I could see something heavy pulling them down, bulges in her clothes, rocks. Someone had stuffed rocks in her pockets, to keep them underwater, to drown them, to hide them. Bile rose in my throat, burning, bitter. I turned and vomited, right there on the rocks, once, twice, until there was nothing left but dry heaves. I needed to call someone, the police, the park rangers, someone. My phone. It was in my tent, 20 meters away. I started running, toward the camp, toward help. Then I heard something. Above the roar of the water, a different sound. Rocks falling, sliding. As if someone were climbing. I froze, looking up, toward the cliff above the waterfall, and I saw him. A man, descending the rock face, using a rope made from what appeared to be belts and backpack straps tied together. Improvised, dangerous, but effective. He was coming down, meter by meter, confidently, as if he had done this before. He was wearing hiking clothes, nothing distinctive. He could have been any camper, except for his eyes. Even from a distance, I could see them, wild, desperate, fixed on me. "Hey," he shouted, his voice barely reaching me over the water. "Don't move." Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I was paralyzed, watching him descend. When he was 10 feet off the ground, he let go. He landed in a crouch, straightened up, and walked toward me. Not fast, deliberate, as if he had all the time in the world. "You saw," he said when he was closer. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. I backed away, toward the water, my heels on the edge of the rocks. "The bodies," I continued. "You saw them in the water." I'm going to call the police." "No," he interrupted. "You won't." He took something out of his pocket, a pocket knife, small but with a sharp blade. He opened it, the metal glinting in the morning light. "Those two," he pointed toward the water, Vanity and Clover. I met them on the trail yesterday. Very friendly, very trusting. They told me exactly where they were going, which route they were taking, where they planned to camp. He moved closer. I kept backing away. Ice-cold water soaking my feet now, soaking my ankles. I offered to guide them, he continued, to a better place to camp, more private, more scenic, and they came. Like little lambs. Why? My voice barely a whisper. Why? He laughed. A harsh sound, no humor. Because Vanity had a driver's license that looked similar enough to mine, and Clover had a passport, and credit cards and everything I need to start over. Identity theft. He had killed them for their IDs. I owe money, he explained. A lot of money, to very bad people. People who will kill me if they find me. So I need to disappear, become someone else, someone with no debts, no past. He reached for his backpack, opened it, showed the contents, passports, dozens of them, all with different photos, all with different names. 3 this week, he said. Vanity and Clover were the latest. Before them there was a man, Granite. I drowned him 2 days ago. His passport was useful, but his face wasn't close enough. I needed more options. 3 people. He had drowned 3 people. Water erases everything, he continued. Evidence, DNA, everything. The rocks in their pockets keep them down until they decompose enough to float. By then, there's no way to know what happened. Accident. That's what everyone assumes. Drowning accident. You won't get away with this. I already got away with it 3 times. And now, he looked at my ID sticking out of my shirt pocket. Now I have a 4th chance. Lark Meridian. Nice name. Gender neutral. Could work. He took a step toward me. I took another back. Water up to my calves now. Cold. Pulling me. Come float, she said, almost sweetly. The water is nice. Peaceful. It only takes a few minutes. You keep your head under. You breathe water. Your lungs fill up. It's over. No. I could barely form the word. I can make this easy, she offered. I knock you out first. You don't feel a thing. Or I can tie you up, fight, make it difficult. Like Vanity. She fought. Took almost 10 minutes. Very unpleasant. Terror made my skin crawl. Every hair standing on end. Cold sweat mixing with the mist from the water. He lunged. I jumped back, into the deeper water, the current grabbing me, pulling me. He followed me, entering the water without hesitation, reaching me. His fingers brushed my shirt, grabbed, pulled. I fell, under the water, world turning into muffled sound, pressure, cold, his weight on top of me, pushing me down, toward the rocky bottom. I opened my eyes underwater, saw his distorted face above me. Determined. My lungs already burning, wanting to breathe, but knowing that if I did, if I inhaled, it would be water. Death. I kicked. My knee connecting with something, his stomach perhaps. His grip loosened, just for a second. I pushed, upward, toward air. My head broke the surface, gasping, coughing up water. But he was there, grabbing me again, pulling me down. Stop fighting, he roared. It only makes it hurt more. I tried to scream, call for help, but the roar of the waterfall drowned everything out. No one could hear me. Even if there was someone nearby, I was alone, with a killer, in water he knew, he had used before. My hand groped around, feeling the bottom. Rocks, slippery with moss. I grabbed one, heavy, sharp at the edge. I swung it, upward, connecting with his head. I heard a crack. He screamed, letting go of me. I pulled myself away, toward shallower water, toward the rocks, behind me, splashing, him catching up, chasing. I reached the rocks, pulled myself up, slipping on moss, not just moss. Something darker, viscous, blood. The moss was stained with blood. Vanities, clovers, granites, everyone he had drowned here. Bloody, slippery, treacherous. My feet slipped. I fell, my chin hitting rock, pain exploding, taste of blood. He came out of the water behind me, water dripping from his clothes, blood running from a cut on his forehead where the rock had hit him. "Fourth," he said. "You're going to be the fourth." I ran, against the waterfall, to the side, anywhere. The roar louder here, deafening, every sound swallowed by the water. My sobs drowned out my screams, all lost in the roar. He chased me, steady, relentless, like the water itself. The rocks here higher, steeper, forming a small cliff beside the waterfall. I needed to climb, get out of reach, out of the water. I started climbing, fingers finding cracks, feet finding footholds. Below, he reached my feet. He pulled. "Get down," I kicked, my boot connecting with his face, his nose. I heard a crunch. He let go, falling back to the rocks below. I kept climbing, meter by meter. The roar of the water so loud I couldn't hear anything else, not even my own thoughts. 10 feet up, 15. I looked down. He was climbing too, slower, his nose bleeding, possibly broken, but coming. 20 feet. The spray from the waterfall soaking me. Mist so thick I could barely see. A ledge, ahead, big. I could rest there, regroup. I made it, pulled myself up, collapsing onto flat rock. And I saw something. A small cave. More like an indentation in the rock wall, but deep enough to hide in. I crawled inside, making myself small, invisible. Below, I heard scraping, growling. Him still climbing. I waited, seconds that felt like hours. The roar of the water, all I could hear, all that existed. Then his head appeared over the edge of the ledge, looking, searching. "Where are you?" His lips moving. But I couldn't hear the words, only see them form. He pulled himself completely up, standing on the ledge, 3 feet from my hiding place. He turned, sweeping his gaze across the area, passing right over my cave. He didn't see me. The spray, the mist, the depth of the indentation invisible. He moved on, further up the cliff, searching. I waited, counting, 100, 200, until I was sure he was gone. Then I moved, back to the edge of the ledge, starting down, more careful now, slower, testing each hold before putting weight on it. 10 feet down, 15, my foot slipped, finding moss instead of solid rock. I fell, sliding down the rock face, fingers clawing, trying to grab hold. I hit the bottom, the rocks at the base of the cliff, sharp pain shooting through my ankle. I screamed, but the water swallowed the sound. Above me, movement. Him coming down. He had heard the fall, seen the slide. I got up, weight on my ankle sending agony through my leg, but moving. I had to move, limping, away from the waterfall, toward the forest, toward my camp, toward my phone. Behind me, his footsteps, splashing in shallow water, then crunching on dirt. "You can't run." His voice finally audible now that we were away from the loudest roar. "Your ankle's broken. I can see you limping." He was right. Every step agony, leg barely holding me up, but I kept going, toward the trees, toward cover, a trail. It appeared ahead. Not the trail I had come on. A different one, wider, more worn. I followed it, hoping it would lead to civilization, to people, to help. He chased me, gaining ground, running now that we were on flat ground. "4," he shouted. "Number 4, your passport will be useful, your license, your life." Ahead, voices, multiple human. "Help," I shouted as loud as I could. "Help. There's a man, a killer." The voices closer, running toward me. 2 park rangers, in real uniforms, with radios, with guns. "Sir, ma'am, are you hurt?" "Him," I pointed behind me. "The man. He drowned 3 people, at the waterfall. There are bodies in the water. He tried to drown me." The rangers looked where I pointed, but the trail was empty. He had fled, back toward the water, back to his territory. "Show us," said one. A woman with a badge that read Ranger Saffron Cross. I led them back, limping, leaning on the other ranger, Ranger Indigo Vale, in for support. We reached the pool, and the bodies were still there, floating, moving slightly with the current. "God," Saffron whispered. She spoke into her radio. "We need recovery teams at Thunder Creek Cascade. Multiple victims. Suspect fled toward the water." More rangers arrived. Police, dive teams. They recovered the bodies. Vanity Pearl, 26. Clover Stone, 24. Both reported missing 2 days ago. Both last seen entering the Thunder Creek area to camp. They found the third body, Granite Ash, 32, downstream. Also drowned. Also with rocks in his pockets. And they found the backpack, hidden in a rock crevice near the waterfall, full of passports, licenses, credit cards, 18 identities, not 3, 18. He had been doing this for years, drowning people, stealing their lives. But they didn't find him, not that afternoon, or in the days that followed. They dredged the river, search teams on both sides, helicopters, dogs. Finally, 5 days later, they found him, downstream, 10 miles away, snagged on submerged branches, drowned, ironically, in the same water he had used to kill so many others. The current had taken him. When he tried to escape by swimming downstream, the water he knew so well finally claimed him. He was identified, finally, as Rowan Thatcher, 42 years old, wanted in 3 states for fraud, missing for 2 years when his gambling debts reached $500,000. The 18 victims were identified from their passports. 18 people over 2 years, all drowned, all stripped of their identities, all eventually found in rivers, lakes, streams across Washington, Oregon, Idaho. Vanity, Clover, and Granite were the most recent, the last. Because I survived, because I escaped, because the Rangers arrived in time. My ankle was broken. It required surgery, 2 months in a boot, 6 months of physical therapy. But the physical scars healed. The mental ones did not. Because now, every time I hear running water, every time I turn on the shower, wash dishes, hear rain, I hear that roar. That deafening roar of Thunder Creek drowning out my screams, my sobs, my pleas for help. And I see those faces. Vanity and Clover. Pale, swollen, purple. Eyes open, staring at nothing. Ligature marks on their wrists where they fought against ropes. Heavy rocks in their pockets dragging them to the bottom. And I feel those hands, pushing me underwater, holding me, drowning me. And I smell that nauseating mixture of river water and old blood on slippery moss. The echo of the waterfall in my shower makes me fear every drop, every splash, every sound of water. I sold my fishing gear, everything. The rod I dropped on the rocks, the lures, the bait container, everything. I never fished again. I never went back to Thunder Creek, and I take baths now instead of showers, because the sound of falling water is too much like that roar that drowned out everything but pure terror. And sometimes I wonder about the other 15 victims, the ones who weren't Vanity, Clover, and Granite, the names on the passports I never recognized. Were their bodies ever found? Did their families get closure? Or are they still out there in some remote river, rocks in their pockets, waiting for decomposition to release them to the surface? And I think about how close I came to being number 19, to having my passport in his backpack, my identity stolen, my life appropriated by someone running from debt. Water washes everything away, he had said, but it didn't wash this away. It didn't wash away the memories, the nightmares, the fear, because now every body of water, every river, lake, waterfall is a potential grave. Every roar of rushing water is a muffled scream. Every splash is a victim struggling. And Rowan Thatcher finally drowned in his own trap, taken by the same water he had used to kill. Poetic justice, some would say, but it doesn't bring back Vanity, or Clover, or Granite, or the other 15 whose names I never learned. It doesn't undo the terror, the trauma, the certainty of imminent death. It only ensures there won't be a 20th victim, or a 21st, or more, Because the man who whispered, "Come float," as he pushed you underwater, that man finally floated himself. Swollen, purple, eyes open, staring at nothing, snagged on branches downstream, claimed by Thunder Creek, where it began, where it ended, and I survived. But I carry the roar with me, in my ears, in my dreams, in every drop of water that falls.